Crack. The thin membrane on the blue bead cracked under Yi Mo's spirit control, and everything in the blue bead cleared up to Yi Mo. The endless green lush world almost made Yi Mo exclaim. He had been running his golden page world for many years, but compared to this world, it was like a small hay house. This wasn't a matter of high level or low level. In terms of level, Yi Mo was certain that his golden page world was countless times higher than this blue bead world, but the purple-robed man has been operating the blue bead world to better completion. Rivers appeared in Yi Mo's spirit sense. There were some immortal spirit beasts running around on mountain peaks. There were plenty of level 9 immortal spirit herbs in the immortal spirit herb gardens, and even more below level 9. Immortal crystals and immortal ranges came in piles and piles. Top-level magic artifacts stacked up in mountains. There was this huge flag that gave Yi Mo a familiar feeling. Yi Mo immediately came to this flag. It was a flag that didn't have a pole but emitted a powerful, ferocious chi. Yi Mo's spirit sense fell on this huge flag and soon knew where it came from. The gray-robed immortal emperor's blue lightning pike had the exact same chi as this flag. At this moment, Yi Mo finally realized why the purple-robed man was going to fight the gray-robed immortal emperor. The flag and the pike were definitely a set. Once combined, it would be a top god artifact. That purple-robed immortal emperor thought that he could definitely beat the gray-robed immortal emperor after watching a few battles, but he didn't expect that the gray-robed immortal emperor was far stronger than he had thought. He had dominated the immortal realm but now died to a fighting stage in the god necropolis domain. As Yi Mo moved his eyes away from the flag, he saw an ordinary stool. The moment he saw the stone stool, Yi Mo's heart started beating rapidly because he had searched for this fifth stone all too long. Now that it was right before his eyes, he almost couldn't believe it. In this boundless universe, how hard would it be to find this stone stool? But he got the stone stool and gathered all 5. One needed great fortune and luck for this. Yi Mo looked at the stone stool and saw the word water. There was also some small worlds, 5-element united, world complete. Yi Mo breathed easy. He realized what the purple-robed man wanted. His blue bead world was going beyond truth spirit world. If he found the 5-element stone stools, his blue bead world would go a level higher. He could use it to vindicate Tao and enter divine emperor Sate. But now that Yi Mo gathered the 5 stone stools, of course he wasn't going to use it to perfect the blue bead world. Yi Mo immediately grabbed the stone stool out of the blue bead world and came into his golden page world. As soon as he came here, the entire golden page world rumbled. Before Yi Mo realized what was going on, his water element stone stool flew out. The other 4 stone stools suddenly flew out too. They spiraled in the golden page world and sped up into a blur. Soon, even spirit sense couldn't see them clearly. The golden page world was rumbling louder and louder as lightning even exploded. Shadowless and small ginseng were scared and hid under the bitter bamboo, not daring to move. Yi Mo wanted to check what was going on in the golden page world and felt his essence spirit hum. At this instant, his essence spirit seemed to about to leave his body and fuse with the golden page world. The rumbling continued and Yi Mo's consciousness gradually separated from his body. Before Yi Mo could do anything, an extremely clear world appeared in his consciousness. This world seemed to be a blank sheet that needed him to complete. Yi Mo subconsciously imagined the world he wanted. He imagined a river, and an endless river appeared in this world. At this moment Yi Mo realized what was going on. In his spirit sense and will, mountains, forests, lakes, rivers, seas and snow peaks erupted into existence. As his consciousness expanded out, the universe, stars, moons, gradually formed around the golden page world. Pieces of Tao laws sprung into existence. The universe chi, law chi filled the space. There was lightning, rain, ice and snow. There was night and day. There was the 4 seasons, ice, wind, lightning and light. All these formed with Yi Mo's will, and there was no pause. Those law power and the law of the heavens gave Yi Mo more understanding. Yi Mo expanded his consciousness out, wanting to expand his world larger, but when his spirit sense touched that obscure chaos at the border of his golden page world, his spirit sense felt a wave of pain. The next moment, he couldn't hold on anymore and fell unconscious on the ground. Small Ginseng and Shadowless, who had seen the entire process of the Golden Page world form, were completely dazed. They clearly saw the Golden Page world go from a grayish dull world into world full of essence chi with a red sun hanging in the east. Rivers flowed everywhere. Fishes sprung out of the waves as though rejoicing for becoming alive. Boss opened up primordial world? Shadowless took in a cold breath and murmured, "We're primordial spirits." Small Ginseng reacted and still reminisced the process of this world forming. He knew that after witnessing this chaos world forming, they were not only primordial spirits but could also have a world creation god art. But soon he thought of Yemo and said, "Shadowless, Boss seems to be unconscious. His body doesn't seem to be right." Shadowless realized and quickly came up to Yemo with Small Ginseng. Yemo's face was dimming, his skin was withering. Even his life force was dissipating. "Small Ginseng, what's going on?" Shadowless asked desperately. He had always been following Yemo, and now that something happened to Yemo, he was really worried. Small Ginseng frowned and said after a long while, "I remembered a legend of our universe's beginning. There was a powerful being called Pangu. After he opened up the universe, he died. Boss seemed to have done the same thing, opening a chaos world. Boss's power seems much weaker than that Pangu. The world he opened isn't even complete. What do we do?" Small Ginseng, think of a way. "I'm so worried. What if something happens to Boss, what do we do?" Shadowless spun around but couldn't think of a way. If it's acting cool and cursing at people, he would have all sorts of ideas, but for this situation there was nothing he could do. Small Ginseng immediately said, "We have to hurry and save Boss. Once his life force completely disappears, even the best Dao fruit can't save him." "What?" Shadowless asked. Small Ginseng answered, "Do you feel that the world law suddenly became complete? Not only that, the universe law is starting to become complete. If I'm not wrong, Boss isn't strong enough and therefore he has to fuse with the heaven laws to make it more complete." Then, Small Ginseng sliced open his arm and dripped a milky white liquid on Yemo, but Yemo's life force was still slowly dissipating. It slowed down a lot, but it didn't stop. "Small Ginseng, this doesn't seem to work," Shadowless said. Small Ginseng's face was pale and stopped his wound. "Indeed. But I thought of something that can definitely save Boss." "What is it?" Shadowless asked desperately. "Chaos Tree. It's also called Tree of Life and World Tree. There's only one of this in the universe and Boss happens to have found it. It's in here too, and it's almost 3 meters tall." Small Ginseng then lifted up Yemo's arm and said to Shadowless, "Hurry up and help me lift Boss to below the Chaos Tree." Yemo was just lifted under the Chaos Tree, and the tree spurred out a soft golden light that completely covered Yemo. Feeling Yemo's life force recover, Small Ginseng quickly pulled Shadowless. "Boss should be fine. Let's move aside and wait till he wakes up." Shadowless could tell that Yemo was probably fine now and quickly moved aside with Small Ginseng while watching the Chaos Tree. The Chaos Tree illuminated a golden light that covered Yemo and released endless life chi. Even Small Ginseng and Shadowless could feel this life chi clearly, and then they saw Yemo's body starting to float. The Chaos Tree's life chi kept rushing into Yemo's body. Yemo's withered body became filled with life chi, and in a short time, Yemo recovered to what he was before, but the Chaos Tree was getting more withered. 15 minutes later, Yemo opened his eyes and saw that he was floating around the Chaos Tree. The Chaos Tree's life force nourished his essence spirit and meridians. However, the Chaos Tree was only 2 meters tall now. Yemo quickly stopped the Chaos Tree from nourishing him and got up. Feeling Yemo recover, the Chaos Tree emitted a joyful chi and then devoured the nearby immortal spirit chi like crazy. Yemo took out a pile of god crystals and said to Small Ginseng, "Small Ginseng, quickly use the god crystals to nourish the Chaos Tree. I need to learn the world laws." Small Ginseng ran over joyfully. Before Yemo gave him god crystals to play with, but it was just a few, not a large pile like this. Shadowless expanded his golden wings and flapped, "Boss, you almost died just then. Is the world tree this powerful?" Yemo didn't have the time to watch the world he opened up. He felt a lot of world laws when he opened the world. These laws don't belong to him, it belonged to the chaos world, but he felt it once. He desperately wanted to know if he could learn these laws and use it to perfect his god art. He immediately sat under the bitter bamboo. Emo started to learn the laws he felt before, but a few days later, Emo could only obscurely feel those laws. He couldn't grasp anything. It was as though those laws were close to him, but when he reached out to grab it, they became very far. The only benefit Emo got was a deeper understanding of space laws. He already knew a bit of space law. His instant transmission came from space law, and because he experienced the golden page world forming, he understood instant transmission better. If he used instant transmission again, it would cause smaller space ripples. As his mastery of space law increased, he would cause less and less space ripples until it eventually disappeared. Emo stopped learning. No matter if he could get anything at the Mu Hua God Mountain this time, he benefited quite a lot from this. Perfecting the golden page world was more important to Emo than anything else. Emo got up and then checked his newly formed golden page world. He could feel the complete connection with it. He didn't even need to scan with spirit sense and could know every movement in the world. At this moment, Emo knew that his golden page world truly fused into one with him. Unless he died, no one could take the golden page world from him. Mountain ranges were interconnected. Green waters reflected the mountains. A red sun hung high in the east, forming a beautiful landscape. The only thing missing were birds and immortal spirit beasts. Emo was very satisfied with his world. This world was countless times more perfected than the blue bead world. The sun and stars in the blue bead world were formed by formations, but everything in his golden page world was formed by the 5 elements. His world was far from the outside universe. This wasn't that his golden page world was at a lower level, but because his cultivation level was too low. He couldn't control that vast universe void. Once his cultivation level increased, his world would expand out infinitely. Emo flew up, the chaos world was his. He could subtly feel that this world was the same as an ordinary realm. If one had enough power, he could tear the golden page world and head towards the outside world. Emo knew this was extremely hard. The golden page world had all 5 elements and the world laws were becoming completed. Even the incomplete golden page world was very hard to tear open unless that person was almighty, but how could Emo let such a person stay in his golden page world? He could leave now, but he didn't choose to keep cultivating. Although he gave some god crystals to small ginseng, he still had tens of thousands of god crystals left. However, he was in the Mu Hua God Mountain now. He can't miss this opportunity. Since he came, he would give this place a good search. The mountain was this big. There was no way that Divine Emperor would be this lucky to encounter him again. At this moment on the Lightning Sound Age's Fruit Hill, the lightning was starting to disappear. The blue color on the fruit was gradually replaced by yellow. The chi of time gradually seeped out from the fruit. Everyone outside the hill held their breath. There was more than 20 people here, and most of them knew the fruit was about to mature. The young mistress of the Hung Golf Corner suppressed her excitement and sound transmissioned. The Lightning Sound Age's fruit is about to be mature. I have lightning mobility technique. As soon as it matures, I'll be the first to charge up, and Elder Nyen help me on the way. Runin and Martial Brother Wen Yen hold still. When Elder Nyen receives the Lightning Sound Age's fruit from me, he will throw it to Runin and Martial Brother Wen Yen. After you two get it, immediately dash away. Elder Nyen and I will help you cut the chase. When we're safe again, we'll contact each other. Okay. Nyo Runin and Martial Brother Wen Yen immediately nodded. After 5 minutes, the last flicker of lightning disappeared. More than 20 dashing lights went over as quickly as possible. The young mistress was the third to reach the top. She grabbed 2 Lightning Sound Age's fruit. At the same time, she instantly left the Lightning Sound Age's fruit tree. She put the fruits in 2 jade boxes and threw it to Elder Nyen while she took out her magic artifact and stopped the 2 Immortal Emperor trying to rob it. When Elder Nyen caught it, he gave 1 each to Nyo Runin and Horseface. At the same time, he released his magic artifact to stop others from chasing the jade box. At this moment, everyone charged up onto the tree, and no one cared about Nyo Runin and Horseface who were outside the hill. As soon as they received the jade boxes, they instantly split off. This process happened perfectly without any pause. Many people saw this and started to regret why they didn't think of such way. Soon, the people here reacted and started to fight over the other lightning sound age's fruit. This hill was ravaged by essence Qi and killing Qi. No one cared about young mistress and elder Nian who didn't have the lightning sound age's fruit anymore. They didn't join the battle and instead quietly left. After the 9 fruits were picked, the tree immediately withered and turned to dust. But not everyone gave up on hunting Niu Runin and Horseface. There were at least 2 immortal emperors chasing behind Niu Runin. Although Niu Runin left first, her cultivation level was too low. It was barely immortal emperor middle stage and she didn't even stabilize her power. Seeing the 2 immortal emperors nearing, she was very desperate. She couldn't shake them off no matter what. Niu Runin knew that if they caught up to her, not only would she lose the fruit but she would also lose her life. She quickly sent a message to the young mistress. But she wasn't able to get very far before a dashing light stopped her path. Do you think a mere immortal emperor middle stage can escape from us brothers? Keep dreaming. It was an immortal emperor peak stage who stopped her. His god spirit Qi emanated around his body. At this moment, the immortal emperor tertiary stage came behind her. There was despair in Niu Runin's heart. She could only hope elder Nian and young mistress could come quicker. Attack! The immortal emperor peak stage clearly knew Niu Runin had backup and didn't want to give her any chances. He released a 5-colored claw. It instantly surrounded Niu Runin. She could only barely release Lu Mingguang Yen Bell to form a protection. Good magic artifact, the immortal emperor peak stage said. He knew this was an attack and defensive magic artifact. Greed immediately showed up in his eyes. Rumble. The 5-colored claw smashed on the bell. Although the bell was much stronger than the claw, Niu Runin's cultivation level was too weak. Just in that clash, she was smashed away. She spat a few mouthful of blood mid-air. The bell dimmed and instantly fell to the ground. If it wasn't for the bell, Niu Runin would be seriously injured. But even though the bell blocked the first attack for her, she couldn't escape from the second attack. Plus, the other person hadn't even moved yet. The immortal emperor peak stage didn't pursue killing Niu Runin but charged towards the bell. Before he could touch the bell, a wave flashed and that bell was gone. A blue-robed man held the bell and didn't even look at this immortal emperor peak stage. He stared at Niu Runin. "Yemo, how is it you?" Niu Runin recognized this person and called out in shock. However, she wasn't joyful at all. She knew that even if Yemo helped her, they wouldn't be a match for the other 2. That immortal emperor peak stage was too terrifying. Seeing Niu Runin know this blue-robed immortal emperor, the other immortal emperor tertiary stage stopped and stood with that immortal emperor peak stage. "What's going on? Did you get something good? Why are there 2 immortal emperor tertiary stages chasing after you?" Yemo looked at Niu Runin in confusion. He was wondering where the other people of the Hung God Corner was. Before Niu Runin could reply, that immortal emperor peak stage landed before Yemo. If it wasn't that Yemo took the bell silently, he would have attacked already. He was concerned with how Yemo took the bell and he didn't notice at all. "Dao friend, are you going to intervene in our affairs?" The immortal emperor peak stage stared at the bell and said, "Intervene? When did you see me attack?" Yemo said in contempt. The immortal emperor peak stage pointed at the bell in Yemo's hands. "The magic artifact is now mine. You robbed my magic artifact. If that's not attacking, what is?" Hearing this, Yemo raised the bell and said, "This is clearly my magic artifact. When did it become yours? I sold this bell to Niu Runin and she still hasn't paid me the full sum yet. Did she sell this to you?" Hearing this, the immortal emperor tertiary stage glanced at Niu Runin and immediately knew that Yemo was telling the truth. "Attack!" The 2 immortal emperor made eye contact and attack. The other immortal emperor released a 4C's god stump and attacked Yemo. At the same time, Yemo gave the bell back to Domain while expanding his lethal force domain. Yemo quite approved of Niu Runin. He felt this dark-skinned was a much better person than that beautiful young mistress. With the bell in her hand, Niu Runin immediately wanted to go help Yemo, but at this moment, she found in shock she couldn't break into Yemo's domain at all. Yemo's domain swept out like crazy. This was the first time Yemo fused the lethal force from the Qingwei Abyssal River into his domain. Before, he was almost bound by that divine emperor. This made him feel his domain was lacking something. This meant that his domain was too amicable. The murderous qi from the Abyssal River could make up for this. The two immortal emperors immediately felt huge pressure. They felt that their domains stacked together was weaker than Yemo's domain. Under Yemo's pressure, their domain made cracking sounds. The immortal emperor peak stage's face changed. He realized that Yemo was very powerful. The five-colored claw expanded and activated countless five-colored lethal beams that loomed over Yemo. Nyo-runin could only retreat back again. It was the best time now for her to run, but she never even thought about it. Yemo was ganged up on due to her. Even if she couldn't help, she couldn't just run away. When the 4C God stump activated, boundless waves came. Only now did Yemo release Zisu. If it wasn't that Yemo wanted to see what their god arts were like, they might even not get the chance to use it. Yemo was in a stage where he was fusing all sorts of god arts. The god arts he saw, the more inspiration he would get. Even if his immortal essence hadn't completely converted to god essence, Yemo wasn't scared of the two immortal emperors. Now, almost all his immortal essence had converted to the stronger god essence. He really didn't care about their attacks. Zisu was released, god art crevice. The 30 kilometers long purple sword ray sliced across the void. The space that was touched by the sword instantly crumpled. It was as though the strike took away all the things in the space. The extremely murderous lethal force fused with the sword ray and hacked past the five-colored lethal beam. The newly formed five-color lethal beam was like snow that instantly melted under the hot sun. Nyo-runin was watching with her jaws wide open. She had never expected that insignificant purple sword Yemo carried on his back would be this powerful. She didn't know that this was Yemo suppressing his power. If it wasn't that the space here was very tough and Yemo was holding back, he could easily hack out 300 kilometers long sword ray. When Yemo hacked out the crevice god art, the surrounding 30 kilometers of space were bound under this sword ray. He was really despaired. He had never thought someone could use sword art god art to this degree. He had seen god art that gathering space lethal force and crumbled space. However, he had never seen someone like Yemo gather all the space lethal force into an extremely fine sword ray. The five-colored lethal beam had completely melted. This immortal emperor peak stage didn't dare to think about anything and forcefully activated the five-colored claws and blocked in front of him. At the same time, an extremely huge round shield appeared before him. Even if he had to fight with his life, he had to block this move first. The other immortal emperor's sea waves had zero chi. Those who were suppressed by it wouldn't even be able to breath. But just when he activated the first wave, a huge fist appeared before the wave. Yemo didn't need to use crevice against an immortal emperor tertiary stage. With the void god art smashed out, the first stump immediately tilted. The huge water wave had a hole inside and completely spilled out. The battle formed a huge flood, sweeping all the nearby sand away. Thud. Zisu hacked on the round shield, creating this heaven-shocking sound. The immortal emperor tertiary stage was smashed back and spat mouthful of blood in the air. He looked worse than Nyo-runin. The other immortal emperor's face changed. Before he could react, his team was smashed away by Yemo. There was even a deep gash on the forehead. Immediately, he realized that them two combined was no match for Yemo. The immortal emperor tertiary stage retreated desperately. The other immortal emperor peak stage landed on the ground. He immediately bowed to Yemo. Qian Bei. Wan Bei offended you. Please forgive me. The immortal emperor peak stage put away his magic artifact and quickly retreated with the other immortal emperor. Seeing the two leave, Yemo didn't go hunt them. Only now did Nyo-runin come out of her shock. She finally realized why Yemo was here. With his power, it would be strange if he didn't win the tournament. Yemo interrupted Nyo-runin and asked, "Why did these two gang up on you? Did you get some top treasure?" Hearing this, Nyo-runin hesitated before saying, "It's not mine. It's young mistress's lightning sound age's fruit." She felt Yemo was a good person and he just saved her life. He didn't know her and dared to let her own him god crystals, so she said it. But then she immediately regretted. Who knew if Emo would fight for such Dao fruit? What? Age's fruit? Emo exclaimed in shock. From the jade slip he bought at the marketplace, he knew what the Age's fruit was. Even Emo would dream to get such Dao fruit. He didn't expect Nyo Runin was hunted for this. Emo's heart heated up. If he could get the fruit and learn time law or just a sliver, it would be a huge increase to his power. Seeing Emo's shocked tone, Nyo Runin's heart sunk. She felt she shouldn't have said this, but then she thought, even if she didn't say it, there would be a reason two Immortal Emperor tertiary stage were hunting her. Emo could guess she got something good. Thinking about this, Nyo Runin quickly said, "This time Dao fruit isn't mine. It's young mistress's." After she grabbed the fruit, she gave it to me and helped stall the people hunting me. Wait! Emo interrupted her. You're saying she gave you the fruit and stayed to stop the others from robbing the fruit? Nyo Runin didn't really want to show the fruit to Emo and answered, "Yes, but this Dao fruit isn't mine. If it's mine, I'm willing to give it to you to thank you for saving my life." Emo smiled. "Time Dao fruit is very precious. I want it indeed, but I wouldn't rob yours. Don't worry. I just feel this thing is about strange. It's not that I'm looking down on her, but she's indeed not so much a good person." Hearing this, Nyo Runin's face became uneasy. If it wasn't that she owed Emo and he saved her, she would get angry. Seeing her face, Emo said, "Since she gave the Dao fruit to you, she would catch up on time. However, you were gained up on by two Immortal Emperor tertiary stages. Other than me, no one came. Even now, I don't see your young mistress. Dao friend Runin. Don't tell me you didn't send a message yet or that young mistress doesn't know how to find you. I won't believe this." Nyo Runin's face changed. Things were really as Emo said. She sent messages, but the young mistress still hasn't come to help her. If it wasn't for Emo, she would have been long dead. She's helping me cut the chase. She's stopping all those who want to chase for the fruit, or she would be here already. Nyo Runin said with low confidence. Emo sneered. Everyone saw her throw the Dao fruit to you, right? Since they saw it, would they stop her? Those two hunted you were a good example. Do you think she would waste time there having meaningless battle? If I was her, I would come back you up immediately, but in reality, she didn't come right. Nyo Runin's face was bad and she didn't talk. Emo added, let's imagine this. If the young mistress gave you the time Dao fruit, she would chase up to you immediately. Other people knows the Dao fruit isn't on her, so they wouldn't waste time with her. She didn't come over, so this means she probably didn't give you the time Dao fruit. If she really didn't give it to you, then she wouldn't be coming to find you but get as far away from you as possible. Nyo Runin's face was getting pale. Since young mistress didn't come to back her up immediately, it meant that she probably has a fake Dao fruit. Since she was given the fake box, there was only one reason. She was used as the decoy scapegoat. Nyo Runin's face was more and more pale. She didn't dare to keep thinking. She had been with the young mistress for all these years. She had been very loyal. If she was just completely used, she wouldn't be able to accept this fact. Before Emo said anything, she took out the jade box and opened it. There was a god crystals laying inside. No lightning sound ages fruit. Although he knew what he said was probably, Emo was still disappointed when he saw the box was fake. He really wanted to see the ages fruit. Nyo Runin's face was pale. Her face was extremely dejected. If the young mistress was in trouble and her life was needed, she wouldn't hesitate at all. But being used as a bait and sacrifice like this, she was just sad and disappointed. Just when Emo was thinking about how to leave Nyo Runin suddenly said, "Since I was very young, my mother left me. The Hung God Corner took me in and raised me up. I've been with the young mistress since then, and she never mistreated me. She even gave me a spot into the mountain. If it wasn't for her, I would have long been dead. Emo, thanks for saving me. If it wasn't for you, I would be dead today. My life is pretty much returned to the young mistress. I don't owe the Hung God Corner anymore. I owe you a life." Emo quickly interrupted her. "Don't take these small things to heart. I'm going goodbye." "Wait!" Nyo Runin stopped Emo. Nyo Runin took out a jade slip and gave it to Emo. "These are the places with the best Dao fruits and materials in the mountain. You might not know since you have never been here. You can have this. Seeing Emo take the jade slip, Runin said goodbye and left. Emo scanned the jade slip. The information was a bit obscure but had an approximate location. Shanyun Cliff. There's often source abstruse silk appearing there. It's a material that could be used to time law magic artifact. It's also said that there's a 7-star extreme well there. This is a well that can refine the body. Can also fuse body refinement god art. Changzheng Lake. There's frequent discovery of Qing Tao Qilon there. It's a top herb that can be used to concoct Dao molding pills. The jade slip even marked out some routes where time whirlpools appeared. Emo put the jade slip and was very grateful to Runin. She helped him quite a bit. The mountain was boundless and spirit sense was limited. God art was also suppressed. If Runin didn't tell him, even if he searched for a year, he might not find these places. If he accidentally went into time whirlpools, he might die. These god necropolis domain powers indeed had their own ways. The first place Emo chose to go was Muhua Floating Valley. The 7-star extreme well was very important to him. He was now Immortal God Body Peak. Emo felt annoyed he couldn't break through to Divine Body. To him, breakthrough to Divine Body was important, but more importantly it was learning God arts. He had quite some God arts but didn't have a great God art nor a body refinement God art. His body refinement is purely defense. If he could learn a body refinement God art, his power would increase many times. As Emo walked, his spirit sense carefully scanned out. He had to be careful of time whirlpools. 6 bluish-green herbs appeared in Emo's spirit sense. Emo immediately recognized this was Red Cloud God herb. It was a spirit I-type God herb. Couldn't be found in the immortal realm. If there was an immortal cultivating spirit I God art, this herb would be invaluable. Before Emo could get close to them, 2 dashing lights charged over. Emo knew this place was the God Mountain and was very careful, but these 2 dashed like lightning without any concern. Moments later, these 2 were only 10 meters from the herbs. Emo sneered. He found these herbs first. There was no way he was going to give it up easily. Just when Emo was about to charge up, he saw the 2 people suddenly disappear. This was the first time Emo had seen such an eerie situation. They definitely didn't have a golden page world like him and suddenly went in. Emo subconsciously stopped. An extremely terrifying time flow seemed to have brushed past him. Emo subconsciously retreated 10 more meters before that feeling was gone. At the same time, he saw the 2 figures again. They were just 3 meters from the place they disappeared. But now they had become white bones. They went for a few more steps and fell to the ground. When Emo looked carefully, he noticed there were many bones around those Red Cloud God herbs. Emo took in a cold breath. This was too scary. 3-meter distance, a few seconds, and 2 immortal Emperor tertiary stages became bones. Even divine emperors wouldn't be able to do this. Emo soon realized that there must be an invisible time whirlpool around the Red Cloud God herb. No matter how much he wanted the herbs, Emo didn't dare to joke with his life. He called out Shadowless and Small Ginseng and told them the situation here. Shadowless and Small Ginseng shook their heads, clearly didn't know how to go past the time whirlpool. Emo's spirit sense carefully went forward. His spirit sense went past without any problem. Emo didn't give up. He used a few spirit sense blades in the time whirlpool. As soon as he did, an extremely powerful time flow blew away his spirit sense. The feeling of losing life came up. Emo quickly took back his spirit sense but found that the spirit sense the time whirlpool swept in was gone. Such a powerful time whirlpool, Emo murmured. It would be fortunate if he wasn't heavily injured in front of this time whirlpool, much less learn time law. The people in the mountain were very careful. If it wasn't for the Red Cloud God herbs, they wouldn't rush like that. The time whirlpool was strange. It would only be activated with spirit sense waves. It seemed his cultivation level was too low. He couldn't learn the time law here. He had to collect things to increase his cultivation level. After making this decision, Emo planned to ask Small Ginseng to help him find treasures. Emo knew that since Runin had that jade slip, other powers would have them too. Perhaps those places were plowed open already. Emo gave up the Red Cloud God herbs. Small Ginseng had an innate talent to sense laws. He would be able to sense some subtle time whirlpools. Emo followed small ginseng and soon found tens of good god herbs and a golden-colored golden bell Buddha fruit. Its value wasn't much lower than Aegis fruit, but it had no value to Emo. Could allow one to learn Buddhist god art. To Emo, if he could see Du Feng monk, he would give him this Dao fruit. Muhua Hanging Valley should be ahead. We'll go check if there's 7-star extreme well. Small ginseng followed Shadowless closely. Don't go too far. Emo saw Small Ginseng was some distance from him and called out. Small Ginseng agreed and ran off with Shadowless. Emo was helpless. Although the Golden Page world was now a complete 5-element world, Small Ginseng and Shadowless were too lonely inside. They had no playmates. In here, there were immortal spirit beasts and god beasts. Emo had decided to get some more immortal spirit beasts into the Golden Page world after he went out to prevent his Golden Page world from being too boring. A sharp scream sounded that interrupted Emo's thoughts. He immediately dashed out. The sound was made by Shadowless. In just 10 seconds, Emo landed next to Shadowless and Small Ginseng. There were 4 people who had surrounded Small Ginseng and Shadowless. There were 2 Immortal Emperor tertiary stages, 1 Immortal Emperor peak stage and 1 half-divine. The Immortal Emperor peak stage had blue hair, but his god essence was weaker than the 2 Immortal Emperor tertiary stages. Rumble. Emo smashed away the Immortal Emperor tertiary stage's black stick attack on Shadowless while releasing Zisu that hung in the air. Who are you? How dare you stop me grabbing Immortal Pet? The Immortal Emperor tertiary stage said. Stop you grab Immortal Pet? Small Ginseng and Shadowless are my friends. What right do you have to grab them? Emo's face sunk. Your thing? There are all too many things in the mountain. What right do you have to say that this Ice Ginseng King is yours? A woman behind the Immortal Emperor tertiary stage said. Why waste time with him? A mere Immortal Emperor middle stage. Just kill him. The Immortal Emperor peak stage said impatiently. The 2 Immortal Emperor tertiary stage agreed immediately. Okay. Before they finished, 2 magic artifacts were released, 1 black 1 white that swept at Emo. Emo released and his murderous Immortal Emperor domain stacked with his Spirit Sense domain. Emo wasn't going to show any mercy to those who wanted to kill him. While they still underestimated him, he would kill 2 first. Zisu sliced across the air and the man and woman immediately felt a powerful space binding. Their Immortal Emperor domains crumbled like eggs. Rumble. The white and black mag struck with Zisu splashing rays in the void. A subtle space ripple spread out. The half-divine's face changed. His heaven-shocking lamp had been released. He chose a very good time, but even so, he was still a bit slow. Zisu brought out 2 bloody mists. These 2 Immortal Emperor tertiary stages were killed in 1 move. They didn't even completely release their god arts. It's not that they couldn't use it, but that they didn't take Emo seriously at all. However, as soon as they clashed, they realized they were severely wrong and this cost them their lives. 2 essence spirits seeped out and was gulped by Shadowless, who was waiting on the side. The Immortal Emperor peak stage was just a bit slower than that half-divine. His face changed immediately and released his Wither Zen dual swords. Emo wasn't worried about that. He was worried about the heaven-shocking lamp. Upon release, it formed heaven-covering light that locked onto him. The endless light were like stars falling that smashed towards Emo. Emo felt his essence spirit was about to cripple. He couldn't even gather his god essence. Although the half-divine didn't stop him from killing the 2 immortal emperors, he chose the perfect opportunity to attack, putting him at the lower hand. Those lights spun more rapidly until it grew brighter and brighter. This reminded Emo of his Heaven Flame 9 Suns. Heaven Flame 9 Suns grew more and more brighter later on. Under the binding of the light, Emo could clearly feel the terror of these lights, and he could feel that the more the light spun, the stronger his domain was. If this continued, Emo wouldn't even be able to take back Zisu. Shadowless saw this and flapped his wings towards that half-divine and bit down. This gathering light domain was bitten a hole by Shadowless. Emo felt easy, and before the lamp could fill the hole up, he punched out. Fist God Art Shatter Sky. At the same time, Shadowless was smashed back by the backlash of the domain and smashed into a huge mountain rock. EMO was planning to burn his god essence to break free from the domain, but Shadowless helped him, so he didn't hesitate at all. 9 void lethal forces rose, and this space was instantly swept inside. The endless light was suppressed by the fist wind before it could be repaired. The 9 fist forces clashed with the endless light. The endless light seemed to have been smashed by asteroid and scattered to a few hundred kms nearby. The half-divine saw that his heaven-shocking lamp domain was broken by EMO and was extremely shocked. He still had other means, but only he knew that the time you picked to ambush EMO was perfect, and yet under such situation, he still wasn't able to make EMO seriously injured. EMO's power was definitely no weaker than his. His heaven-shocking lamp lit up again. An eerie light came up that charged at EMO's fist wind. At this moment, the blue-haired Immortal Emperor Tertiary Stage finally released his magic artifact. The 2 swords sealed EMO's surroundings like 2 sword dragons. EMO raised his hand and a huge drum appeared before him. Dong dong dong. EMO struck the drum 9 times, but it sounded like tens of thousands of horses racing. The sky became dark with lethal force. The 2 immortal emperors attacking EMO felt endless immortal soldiers raising their spears and attacking. This wasn't the battle between 3 but between millions. EMO didn't take back the fist wind and raised out a few more lightning bolts. Before, EMO was almost backlashed by the drum sound with just 1 strike, but now he struck it 9 times and was completely fine. The dual swords was suppressed by the drum sounds and could only circulate around EMO's domain. The eerie green light of the half-divine was also suppressed and immediately slowed down. However, EMO's 5 lightning lights were becoming clearer. Those drum sounds struck the half-divine's chests, making his god essence cripple. But this wasn't the end. At the same time, 5 extremely clear lightning spears appeared. The half-divine's face changed. Although his domain was bit open by Shadowless, it was still under a slight upper hand. But when the drum sounded, he was at the lower hand. Now that the 5 lightning spears was about to smash down and he was completely bound to it, how could he keep attacking EMO at the same time? The green light changed directions and swept at the 5 lightning spear destruction. Rumble. The lightning spears smashed with the green light, creating this huge shocking sound that exploded all the nearby space, destroying the nearby forest and small hill. More than half of the lightning spears was gone, but it kept falling. It just wasn't as powerful as before. The heaven-shocking lamp suddenly expanded, becoming a red sun. Crack! A few more sounds appeared, and the remaining lightning spear completely smashed on the heaven-shocking lamp. The lamp immediately dimmed down and even made a cracking sound. The half-divine blocked EMO's Shatter Space God art and the drum sound, as well as the 5 lightning spear destruction. However, his face became pale. After blocking the 5 lightning spear destruction, he immediately put away his lamp and dashed away. A half-divine and an immortal emperor peak stage was attacking EMO together, but he felled first. Seeing this half-divine run, EMO had no power to chase him. Seeing this, the blue-haired immortal emperor peak stage's face looked back. He wanted to take back his magic artifact and run, but EMO was facing him alone now. How could he run easily? EMO's Immortal Emperor domain and Spirit Sense domain completely expanded, binding this Immortal Emperor peak stage before punching again. This Shatter Sky gathered a few void lethal force and completely sealed off his exit. The blue-haired Immortal Emperor was already no match for EMO. Now that he just wanted to run, he had less chances of stopping EMO's god art. He wasn't that half-divine. Although he was Immortal Emperor peak stage, he was weaker than ordinary Immortal Emperor Tertiary Stage. Facing such a powerful lethal blow, he could only beg, "Don't attack. I'm Zicheng God Corner's Hellion Yule. I'm from the Hellion family." For those who wanted to kill him, EMO wasn't going to let them go even if they were the God Lord. Shatter Sky's fist force swept the blue-haired Immortal Emperor to pulp. 3 storage rings fell into EMO's golden page world. Then he walked up to Shadowless and asked, what was going on? Shadowless was thick-skinned, and although he was smashed away by the half-divine's domain, he was fine. Small Ginseng quickly said, I felt a top treasure here, and just when I was charging forward I was stopped by those 4. Shadowless quickly said, that blue-haired saw through that Small Ginseng was Ice Ginseng King and wanted to capture Small Ginseng. Of course we didn't agree, but before I attacked, I was attacked by that woman. He offended another power. EMO just didn't bother to think about it, and said to Small Ginseng, "Small Ginseng, lead the way. Let's see where that treasure is." He offended too many people. When the mountain was about to open, he would just stay in here. He found what he wanted anyways. If he wasn't afraid that people would find the tunnel to the immortal realm, he would rather go back to the immortal realm. EMO really didn't like this god necropolis domain. Hearing that EMO was going to find what he sensed, Small Ginseng immediately came and dashed out in a white light. EMO didn't dare to follow from afar and stuck close by Small Ginseng. In less than 2 hours, Small Ginseng came to a huge valley. What made EMO feel amazed was that there were steep cliffs on the 2 sides of the valley. The lower half of the cliff was covered by mist and only the top half showed. From a distance, it was like floating in the air. The valley was wide and deep. Spirit sense couldn't even scan to its edges. Even if EMO didn't ask, he knew this was Muhua Floating Valley. Small Ginseng didn't stop and charged in immediately. 5 minutes later, Small Ginseng had to stop. 2 immortal emperors were having a huge battle here that almost turned the valley around. EMO could tell that both of them were immortal emperor tertiary stage. The long-haired man was stronger, meanwhile the gray-robed man looked older. "Boss, there's just some way to there, but these 2 are blocking our way," Small Ginseng said angrily. If there was no special situation, EMO wouldn't want to fly in here. These 2 were having such an intense battle that it sealed the path shut. EMO could only go up and say, "You 2 please wait a bit. Let us pass." The 2 immortal emperor tertiary stages saw that a mere immortal emperor middle stage asked them to stop fighting and give way. They didn't understand where EMO got the audacity from. But the older immortal emperor moved to the side, clearly agreeing. The long-haired immortal emperor saw Shadowless and Small Ginseng running behind EMO. As though feeling that someone who could own these 2 weren't ordinary, he hesitated and moved aside too. EMO waved his hand and was going to pass between the 2. At this moment, the gray-robed immortal emperor suddenly attacked. He released an extremely powerful ray that bound the entire space. Even EMO felt the terror of this dark ray and suspected he might not be able to dodge it if he didn't convert his immortal essence. At this moment, Small Ginseng and Shadowless were in this bound space and was about to be pierced. Shadowless was more experienced in battle and instantly stopped Small Ginseng and bit. Crack. There was an almost indistinguishable sound, and that bound space was bit open a bit. Shadowless took Small Ginseng to retreat a few steps and escaped from the border. EMO was furious. He didn't expect this careful-looking gray old man was this shameless and used him to ambush. If it was some ordinary person, he would have been dead already. The next moment, his domain pressed over and used shatter space. 9 terrifying void fist forces swept at the old man. EMO didn't even hid the murderous chi. It fused with the void lethal force that would even make spirit sense shiver. The old man wanted to use his dark ray rune, but the long-haired immortal emperor stopped him and prevented him from using it. Now that EMO was going past here, he immediately caught onto the opportunity. The instant the rune was activated, the gray-robed immortal emperor breathed easy. He knew he was fine now. No matter how strong the long-haired immortal emperor was, he would be heavily injured or killed by the rune. As for the mere immortal emperor middle stage, the gray-robed old man felt EMO was suicidal to intervene in the immortal emperor tertiary stage battle. But the instant he activated the rune, he felt things weren't right. That dragon horse-like beast bit open the dark ray domain. That immortal emperor middle stage who was bound by the dark ray domain could move freely and even punched over. His face changed greatly. That extremely powerful lethal force already locked onto him tightly. He could clear sense it, but he couldn't dodge it. The murderous killing intent hurt his body before it even reached him. His body was about to split apart. Such a terrifying fist force, such murderous killing intent. The gray-robed man instantly realized he caused a big trouble. This guy was no immortal emperor middle stage. This power was Tao Vindication Divine Emperor. The nearby space was completely bound, and even the old man's spirit sense was locked on. He couldn't even make a word, even if he wanted to beg for mercy. He could only watch as the void lethal force came. His eyes were full of regret and terror. He didn't expect he messed with someone this tough so casually. Thud. The void fist force smashed together and the old man's body exploded. He couldn't even move his finger and could only watch. This only happened in a second. The long-haired immortal emperor noticed the ambush, but that dark ray domain was too strong and he couldn't break free. Luckily Shadowless bit open the domain and Yemo's Shatter Sky tore this domain open. The long-haired immortal emperor immediately used the opportunity to move aside, but even so, the dark ray still took away all the clothes on him as well as some flesh. One could imagine that if he was a bit later, that dark ray would heavily injure him. Before he could breathe easy, he saw Yemo punch the old man to dust. That extremely fierce and terrifying lethal force made the long-haired man shiver even though he wasn't at the full front of it. Such powerful fist force. The long-haired man rejoiced that he didn't forcefully block the way or he would be the one dead. No wonder this immortal emperor middle stage dared to roam around with an ice Xianxia king. With such power, who would dare to attack him? He even suspected that Yemo was fishing for an excuse to kill people. Just when the man wanted to walk to Yemo and thank him, a huge explosion stopped him. The long-haired man didn't mind. He knew that it was the dark ray hitting a cliff. "Boss, it's this place. It's been smashed open." Small Ginseng quickly came over and pointed at the cliff. Yemo already saw it. An extremely dense god spirit chi-chi with slivers of Tao waves diffused. There was also an extremely good aroma that purified cultivation and the body. 7-star extreme well? The long-haired man called out in shock. A huge stone pond appeared and inside was extremely clear liquid. The god spirit chi that seeped out squeezed away the clouds, making it seem like an immortal pond floating in the air. It's indeed 7-star extreme well, not bad. Small Ginseng did huge work this time. Yemo said happily. The next moment, Yemo took a storage ring and landed on the side of the well. He took out a jade kettle that wasn't very big. Yemo was an immortal artifact grandmaster. Although it was hard to buy dimensional jade kettles for others, but Yemo made a pile in the Golden Page world to collect treasures like this. The long-haired man's face changed a few times, but he eventually didn't dare to do anything. The 7-star extreme well was precious, but he didn't have the balls to fight over it with Yemo. However, he also flew over and saluted with his fists to Yemo. "This Tao friend. Thank you for saving my life. I want to see if there would be 7-star extreme wells on the side. Would that affect Tao friend?" Yemo looked and nodded. "Do as you please." The long-haired man rejoiced and immediately started to dig places not far from Yemo's 7-star extreme well. He had researched many information before and knew that around the 7-star extreme well, there would be side wells. This is still 7-star extreme well but just has less quantity. When the original 7-star extreme well was full, the liquid would flow to another place, so that place was side well. The liquid in the well was brought out by Yemo and flowed into the jade kettle like a water fountain. One couldn't even stop the extremely pure well chi from spreading. Yemo knew that this would definitely attract people to come. He had to collect this quickly. Crack. Yemo knew that the other man succeeded because after this crack, there was more well chi seeping out. Found it. The long-haired man rejoiced. Yemo looked over. 10 meters from him, there was a sink-sized well. Yemo didn't plan to fight over it. He already had this much, so he didn't need more. Plus, the man found it himself. The man wasn't slower than Yemo and instantly took out a jade bottle and quickly filled up the well. At this moment, a few more dashing lights came in and Yemo just finished collecting the well water. 7-star extreme well. A few shocked voices and 4 figures landed. Then, 2 more dashing lights came and called out the same words. Yemo landed and waved to Shadowless and Small Ginseng. "Let's go." The long-haired man saw this and quickly followed Yemo. Wait. At least 3 of the 6 came out and stopped Yemo. Yemo frowned. He knew that he took all the well water, so it was probably hard for him to leave peacefully. Ice Ginseng King. Another person saw Small Ginseng and exclaimed. Yemo was only Immortal Emperor peak stage and yet got this many 7-star extreme well water and the Ice Ginseng King. Even the dragon horse probably wasn't simple. People's eyes immediately went red. Yemo waved his hand and took Shadowless and Small Ginseng. At the same time, Zisu floated in the air. Since this was unavoidable, he might as well fight. The strongest here was only Immortal Emperor Peak Stage, and there was only one. One person here was even Immortal Monarch Peak Stage. EMO didn't need to worry about this at all, nor need Shadowless help. Seeing EMO put away small ginseng and Shadowless, a few people sneered. It was pointless to put away things that were already seen. At this moment, 3 more dashing lights came. EMO was speechless as EMO knew 2 of them. It was the 2 that stopped Nyorunin and was taught a lesson by EMO. The 3 immediately saw the empty 7-star extreme well, but then the other 2 Immortal Emperors recognized EMO. Their faces changed, but they didn't leave. They stood afar and watched. Seeing one of the 2 was Immortal Emperor Peak Stage, the first 6 who came saluted with their fists to the 3. The Immortal Emperor Peak Stage in the group of 6 was white-skinned, but his eyes looked evil. He greeted the 3 and walked up to the long-haired man. "Dao friend, you've got quite some luck. The well is that big here, you probably got quite a lot right." The long-haired man saluted with his fists. "I got some well water, but I got the side one. As for the main well, it's because I came a bit late." The Immortal Emperor Peak Stage dazed. To him, it was EMO and the long-haired Immortal Emperor who split the 7-star extreme well. EMO was weaker, so he must have gotten less, but the results were different. Then he reacted and smiled to the long-haired man. "Dao friend, you're a nice person. I admire you." The side well was only the size of a water sink, not even 1/10 of the main well. Yet, the man still didn't rob EMO's well. The long-haired man smiled but said nothing. Was he a good person? He felt EMO was a good person. If it was someone else, he wouldn't even get the sides. This evil-eyed Immortal Emperor Peak Stage looked at EMO and casually saluted with his fists. "Dao friend, you're quite lucky to get an entire well of 7-star extreme well. I'm Hung Hong God Corner Ekong. There's plenty of treasures in the mountain, but the 7-star extreme well is extremely rare. Since everyone saw it, can you share some?" EMO smiled, "Of course. There's that many 7-star extreme wells. I can't use it all." Ekong laughed. "Dao friend, nice. How about this? Take out the 7-star extreme well and I'll split it up." Seeing that EMO was willing to share the 7-star extreme well, he immediately knew EMO was scared. He was facing 9 Immortal Emperors and EMO was only an Immortal Emperor middle stage. How could EMO not be scared? The 2 Immortal Emperors who had seen EMO before knew he definitely wasn't so easy to talk to. They saw others go up, but they stayed afar. "Why should I let you split my things?" EMO said plainly, but killing chi was gathering around Zisu. He was about to attack. Feeling EMO's faint killing chi, Ekong frowned and said coldly, "Didn't you say you can't use this many 7-star extreme well water and wanted to share it? Are you regretting?" EMO smiled. "Of course I won't regret, but if you want my well water you need to trade it. You guys didn't take anything out and want me to share the well water with you. Do you want to rob me?" Ekong heard this and was furious. "So you're playing with me." Then, his force rose as killing intent circulated around him. Before he could attack, the brown-robed Immortal Emperor Tertiary Stage next to him went up first and released a rusty ghost chain and attacked EMO. "Martial Brother Kong. You don't need to deal with this cocky bastard. I, Guan Ruisi, am enough." As soon as the ghost chains came out, the valley became ghastly. It was as though countless ghosts came alive. Howling ghost voices sounded with the black smoke that was about to tear EMO apart. The long-haired man standing not far felt his mind unstable and immediately retreated while releasing his defensive magic artifact. "The ghost chains are not bad," EMO said and sliced with Zisu. He really felt the ghost chains were good, but this Immortal Emperor Tertiary Stage couldn't fully activate it. EMO expanded his domain out and the gray-robed Immortal Emperor's domain cracked like an egg. The Immortal Emperor immediately knew he wrongly estimated EMO's cultivation level, but Zisu already smashed down on the ghost chains with the space-lethal force. Rumble. Essence Chi blasted and the nearby Immortal Emperors released their magic artifacts while retreating quickly. Kang's face changed. He instantly realized that Guan Ruisi was no match for EMO. He instantly released his magic artifact, but the long purple sword ray had already hacked on the ghost chains. Sizzling sounds came and the endless ghost figures were melted into nothing but the purple rays. Guan Ruisi felt his ghost chains shiver. The long purple sword ray suddenly cracked and then turned into heaven-covering purple shards that enveloped him. At this moment, Guan Ruisi was completely in despair. He realized that even if he didn't underestimate Yemo could still kill him easily. Splurge. Blood mist sprayed, and the Immortal Emperor Tertiary stage, who was going to kill Yemo a few seconds ago, was turned to dust. At this moment, Yikang's 5-flame Qian Kuan wheel was just released. Yemo didn't put away Zissou. He flew up and punched. Yemo felt very satisfied. His crevice god art finally broke through, just then forming endless crevice shards. He derived this from Illusion Cloud 9 strikes and Heaven Shocking Lamp domain. After crevice cracked, the endless sword rays can form another domain strike. If it enveloped the opponent, it would kill for sure. Before the 5 sun-like rings of the wheel spread out, it was swept by Yemo's fist force. Rumble, 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 rumble. After 5 huge explosions, flame shot everywhere and the space and earth was completely turned to dust. Even the 2 valleys were powdered. Yikang flew back and there was a sliver of blood at the corner of his mouth. He was extremely shocked. Although he attacked in a rush, Yemo attacked after Yemo killed an Immortal Emperor. Yemo counter-attacked in a rush. Thinking about this, Yikang soon realized he was far from a match for Yemo. Yikang stumbled a few steps. His face was pale. He finally realized why Yemo didn't care. He didn't need to care. Even if 6 more of them came, Yemo could just go. If Yemo wanted to go, who here could stop him? The long-haired man breathed easy. Out of the first 6 people who came, 1 was instantly killed and the Immortal Emperor peak stage was smashed away. The remaining 4 had 1 Immortal Monarch and 2 Immortal Emperor primary stages. Their faces were extremely pale and subconsciously looked at the 3 who came later. They finally realized why there was 2 who didn't come up. They already knew how strong Yemo was. Essaying Yemo take the storage ring and ghost chain and walk towards him. Yikang quickly put away his wheel and saluted with his fists. I was too impulsive. I'm willing to compensate for Dao Friend's losses. Seeing Yemo completely ignore him, Yikang said again, there's a Dao Essence Divine Estate in the mountain. I've just got news and sensed the well chi here. That's why I came over. Yemo stopped. Dao Essence was the pinnacle of the God Necropolis domain. He must go check out that Dao Essence estate. Up until now, his 3-birth chant didn't have Dao Vindication Cultivation method, mainly because he had never come in contact with a Dao Vindication Divine Emperor. Even though he was hunted by one, he didn't fight one. Tell me where it is and I'll let you live. Yemo said plainly. Yikang quickly said, the Dao Essence Divine Estate is at Changzheng Lake. People were searching for Qingtao Qilan there and accidentally activated the ancient Dao Essence Divine Estate. It said that this place might be left behind by a powerful being before the God Necropolis domain was broken. There would be top-level divine Dao cultivation method and God art. Okay. If you don't want my well water, then piss off. Yemo said. Yikang's face showed a sliver of anger, but he quickly hid it and said, Dao friend. That 3 treasure ghost chain is one of the top magic artifact of our Hung Hong God corner. Please? You want it? Yemo looked asked. Yikang bit his teeth and said, yes, that's something very important to us. We're willing to pay some price for it. Yemo said, you can have it back if you use a Dao fruit to trade it. Any Dao fruit will do, otherwise no deal. If you can give me Lightning Sound Aegis fruit, I can not only give the chains back but also give you a bottle of 7-star extreme well water. Yemo said loudly, but no one at the scene reacted. He knew that these people definitely didn't get the fruit. Seeing Yemo about to leave, Yikang was really desperate. He quickly sound transmission to Yemo, Dao friend. I really don't have Dao fruit, but I know who does, and I know he has 2 Lightning Sound Aegis fruit. Yemo said coldly, what does that have to do with you? Do you think I'm going to give you the ghost chains if you told me who has the Lightning Sound Aegis fruit? Seeing Yemo speak out his sound transmission, Yikang didn't dare to blame Yemo and said, I know that person will be going to the ancient Dao Essence Divine Estate, and I know he really wants the well water. If Dao friend is willing to trade with the well water, I believe he's willing to give out a Lightning Sound Aegis fruit. Lead the way. When I see the person I will give it to you, otherwise you can wait to die. Yemo sneered. Yikong was furious, but he could only suppress his anger and lead the way at the front. Qian Bei. The two immortal emperors who were beaten away by Emo before could only greet Emo. Emo knew that they were only like this due to his power, and if he was weaker, they would come attack him without hesitation. However, there were all sorts of people like this everywhere. He didn't need to care that much. He just needed to increase his power. Seeing Emo head towards the Changzheng Lake, the rest of the people followed, but the long-haired immortal emperor changed direction and left. The reason Changzheng Lake was famous was because Qingtao Qilan would often be found here. It was a material used for concocting top-level Dao molding pills. Those who came to the mountain would all go there for a spin. Who would give up Dao vindication? If one vindicated Dao, the first step would be Dao molding. The best material for learning Dao molding was Qingtao Qilan. However, this herb was very rare in the God Necropolis domain, even in the Changzheng Lake. Changzheng Lake was half a day's distance from the floating valley because they couldn't fly. If they could fly, they would be able to get there in half an hour. When Emo came to the outskirts of the lake, he found there were already 50 people here. These people surrounded a huge lake. The lake looked boundless and had a layer of mist. The white mist seemed to have materialized. Emo's spirit sense blades scanned out and forced open the white mist. He found that the water underneath was red like blood. There was also some cold-killing chi inside. When Emo and them came over, they just casually glanced and didn't care. Most of them were staring inside the lake. Emo frowned when he saw the lake water was this strange. Dao friend. It's that person wearing the yellow cloud robes who has 2 Dao fruits. He's a body refinement cultivator and he definitely needs the 7-star extreme well. Yikong quickly sound transmission to Emo. Emo already saw that body refinement immortal. His muscles bulged up and essence chi formed faint ripples around him. His cultivation level was half divine. It was no wonder he dared to appear after getting 2 lightning sound aegis fruits. Who is this person? Give me a set-off Changzheng Lake information. Emo said casually. Yikong said, Changzheng Lake has been a place producing lots of Qingtao Qilan since the ancient times. The lake water is red. It's fabled that an ancient gray dragon molded his Dao here, but he encountered an unprecedented divine damnation. This divine damnation took the divine damnation, but his essence spirit cracked due to this and died here. Eventually, his essence blood and essence chi formed the lake, and the Qingtao Qilan next to the lake has a sliver of dragon will. It's more valuable than Qingtao Qilan from other places. The lake surface is so flat. Even if there were Qingtao Qilan, wouldn't it be harvested away? Emo asked. Yikong answered, people can't see the lake every time the mountain opens, as the mountain opens from a different position. So in time, people can find Qingtao Qilan around the lake. Emo nodded and looked at the half-divine. Tell me about this person. He's very mysterious. It said he's not from the 16 God Corners and 5 castles. After he came here, he went around challenging everyone and no one was a match for him. He killed a few top prodigies. Later, there was Dao Vindication Divine Emperor attacking him, but he has an extremely powerful space mobility technique. Even Divine Emperors find it very difficult to keep him. If any Divine Emperor attacked him, he would come back to revenge the Divine Emperor's sect after a while. As time went on, no one dares to mess with him. Yikong subconsciously looked at the half-divine. The half-divine seemed to have felt someone look at him. He looked up and glanced over coldly. Yikong subconsciously shivered and sound transmissioned. He knows we're discussing about him. Emo threw out the ghost chains and said, You have no business here. Yikong took the ghost chains and quickly left. He didn't want to be connected with Emo at all. However, before Emo went over, that half-divine came over. He studied Emo from head to toe before saying in a coarse voice, You were prying news about me? Emo just wanted to answer the yellow cloud-robed half-divine when the center of the lake Shadowless exploded with a 1 km tall water pillar. However, it seemed quite eerie as the pillar was red. Okay. Another formation flag opened. Someone clapped. Soon, a few figures jumped up from the bottom of the lake and landed by the river. Before anyone said anything, a few more people went into the lake. The water pillar gradually fell back. At this moment, A Tao Vindication Divine Emperor drew 8 over to the side, clearly wanting them to get prepared. Emo finally realized what was going on. It seemed that Tao Essence Divine Estate was at the bottom of the lake and people went down in turns to break the formation. When one formation flag was opened, the 8 people who were just appointed would go down to attack the next formation flag. The Divine Emperor is probably the commander of this operation. Emo was shocked. There was such massive attacks at the bottom of the lake, but nothing could be seen from the lake surface. Only when the formation flag was broken would there be a water pillar. I'm asking you something. The half-divine saw Emo stare at the lake and think so his tone grew cold. Emo turned around and saluted with his fists. I heard Tao friend is a body refinement cultivator. I just came from Mu Hua Hanging Valley. You're not going to say you found the 7-star extreme well, right? Beams shot out of the half-divine's eyes as though he was almost about to eat Emo. Emo said calmly, "That's right. I found it and I got a big pond." The half-divine rejoiced. He had been to the Hanging Valley many times but didn't find any marks of the well. Yet someone said he found a large pond of it. How could he contain his joy? The well was invaluable to him. He would rob it even if he had to. Just when he was going to speak, he saw Emo's face change and he jumped into the lake without hesitation. The half-divine dazed, but he soon reacted. He followed Emo into the river without hesitation. The rest of the immortals didn't expect someone would jump in the lake at this time. Those who didn't understand thought the formation was opened and jumped in too. More and more people jumped in. The Divine Emperor holding the formation saw that he was the only one here and gritted his teeth. A mere immortal emperor middle stage dares to mess up my plan. He brought over a Tao Actualization Divine Emperor. Just when Emo jumped in the lake, a Tao Actualization Divine Emperor came over a few seconds later. The Tao Actualization Divine Emperor also jumped in the lake. This Divine Emperor immediately guessed that the Tao Actualization Divine Emperor was hunting Emo. Then he jumped in the lake too. Of course, the Tao Essence Divine Estate's formation wasn't broken, but Emo had to jump in. His spirit sense sensed the Divine Emperor who was hunting him head towards the lake, and his spirit sense locked onto him when it scanned the lake. In just a few seconds, the Divine Emperor would be here. He didn't think he could get away this time. The Tao Actualization Divine Emperor's spirit sense was locked onto him. Emo jumped into the lake. He couldn't think of anywhere else where he could escape the spirit sense. Emo believed that no matter how strong the Divine Emperor's spirit sense was, it couldn't scan into the bottom of the lake. As soon as Emo jumped in, the spirit sense lock-on was removed. Emo could go into the Golden Page world now, but he didn't choose to. He still had an opportunity to run. Emo was at his max speed and kept dashing around at the bottom of the lake. He knew that the Divine Emperor was in the lake now, but his spirit sense was limited in the lake, so he couldn't be sure where he was. Rumble. The water splashed apart, and Emo immediately knew something was going on at the bottom of the lake. He carefully dived, but found a huge golden door was wide open. Emo saw the Tao Essence Divine Estate's restriction was smashed open, and a few people went inside. The latter people also dashed in. Emo's first impulse was to go in too, but he instantly changed his mind. He didn't go in and instead threw down a surveillance formation disc like the rocks at the lake bed and left. He controlled the Golden Page world to mix into the mud at the lake. Hiding in the Golden Page world, Emo was confused. Why was there no Tao Essence Chi in this Tao Essence Divine Estate? Emo had never seen Tao Essence Chi, but there was very little ancient feeling to this estate. Soon, Emo felt he was thinking too much. Perhaps that Tao Essence Divine Emperor didn't die for long. With the Tao Essence Divine Estate open, even the half-divine outside the Divine Estate couldn't resist. The Tao Essence Divine Estate attracted him too much. To him, the well was very important, but it could be delayed. Going in the Tao Essence Divine Estate was the most important thing. Seeing that Divine Emperor go into the Tao Essence Divine Estate, Emo breathed easy. The only pity was that he couldn't go in to get rich and that half-divine went inside. He couldn't even deal with him. Just when Emo wanted to leave the Golden Page world and flee, another figure appeared in the surveillance formation disc. Emo quickly stopped. He almost forgot about the Divine Emperor breaking the formation. How did this guy come so late? What shocked Emo was that this Divine Emperor didn't go in and instead sneered before throwing down tens of formation flags. This Divine Emperor was clearly setting up a top trap and attack formation. Even he can't set up such formation. As the Divine Emperor kept throwing out formation flags, the golden door slowly shut. Such an evil guy. Emo took in a cold breath. Clearly, he wanted to catch everyone who went in. At this moment, Emo realized that this Tao Essence Divine Estate was just a bit. As for what it was used for, Emo knew it was related to the Divine Emperor's cultivation method. It was already extremely eerie with the blood-red lake water, and now with a Tao Vindication Divine Emperor trapping people here with a Tao Essence Divine Estate. Emo didn't want to stay here an extra minute. But the Divine Emperor kept throwing out formation flags and restrictions. Emo didn't dare to leave at this moment. Emo watched the Divine Emperor and waited for the opportunity to go. After 15 minutes, the Divine Emperor suddenly took out a red jade bottle and gulped at the bottle. Once he finished, he suddenly sensed something and frowned. The next moment, he landed next to Yemo's formation disc. He picked up that stone-like disc. Yemo was shocked. This old monster was so cunning. He didn't do anything, and yet the surveillance formation disc was found. With this, Yemo knew he couldn't keep hiding. It would only expose his golden page world. Without hesitation, Yemo dashed out of the golden page world and charged out. He just escaped from a Tao Actualization Divine Emperor and was now wanted by a Tao Molding Divine Emperor. Yemo was speechless. This Divine Emperor immediately woke up when Yemo escaped and sneered. He stepped out and punched without even releasing magic artifact. At this moment, Yemo was 1 km from the Divine Emperor, but this punch rattled the entire lake water. The lake water smashed onto Yemo as a whole body. Yemo couldn't even resist and spat a few mouthful of blood. His body felt like it was about to collapse. If he wasn't Immortal God body, his body would have been completely pulverized. Yemo was extremely shocked. He was originally planning to fight this Divine Emperor. After all, Tao Molding Divine Emperor was just the beginning of Tao Vindication. He thought that if he could fight with a half-divine, he might be able to fight a few rounds with Tao Molding Divine Emperor. However, this Tao Molding Divine Emperor's punch shattered Yemo's fantasy. This was at a 1 kilometer distance. If it was face-to-face, Yemo probably couldn't even move. He was on par with half-divine, but he was a far cry from Tao Vindicators. Realizing this, Yemo dashed towards the lake surface. A top-level body refinement cultivator. The Divine Emperor thought that an Immortal Emperor middle stage would certainly die to this punch, but Yemo actually escaped and only just spat a few mouthfuls of blood. Yemo brought over a Tao Actualization Divine Emperor and saw his secret. How could he let Yemo go? But just when he moved, the formation flags he set up hummed and seemed to about to explode. The Divine Emperor's face changed. Of course he knew that the Tao Actualization Divine Emperor was doing this. If the formation was broken, all his work would have been for nothing. He had to give up Yemo and go back to that door again and keep spraying down formation flags. He had to seal this formation completely shut. Yemo's spirit sense was watching the actions of this Tao Molding Divine Emperor. Seeing him go back, Yemo's heart relaxed. He dashed out of the lake as quickly as he could. He couldn't care about time whirlpools and used a few instant transmissions and used mobility technique for an entire day before stopping. He escaped to a swamp, but Yemo wasn't happy at all. He finally realized the difference between Tao Vindicators and ordinary Immortal Emperors. This was the difference of great God art. Even if he reached Immortal Emperor peak stage, if he didn't know a big God art, he might not be a match for a Tao Vindication Divine Emperor. That Divine Emperor's attack carried space law. All the waters within his law range were moved by his law. He completely used the force of the world to pressure him. This definitely wasn't something that his God art could counter. Yemo felt he was quite lucky. He originally thought that even if he was caught up to buy that Tao Actualization Divine Emperor, he would use great transmission God art and fight with his life. But now, he realized that if he was really caught up, the Tao Actualization Divine Emperor might bind the entire space. This wasn't the space binding of domain. Once space was bound, he wouldn't be able to use any god art. The insolent was fearless. If you didn't reach that level, you would never know the power of that level. Emo didn't have the confidence had before. In this world you're an insect if you didn't vindicate Tao. If he wanted to survive in this world, he would have to quickly vindicate Tao or he would die. Luckily, his golden page world was complete and he could use that to vindicate Tao. But before this, he would have to understand how to vindicate Tao. Emo immediately called out Small Ginseng and Shadowless and said, "We're too weak right now. We have to find God Spirit Range and God Crystals to speed up cultivation. You two go out immediately and find God Crystals and God Spirit Range." Small Ginseng and Shadowless were very happy to do such things. They immediately went outside. A day later, Small Ginseng found a small God Crystals mine. Emo dug inside for a whole day and only got a few thousand top-grade God Crystals and tens of thousands of middle-grade God Crystals. The second day, Small Ginseng seemed to have found something top-level and ran around like mad. Emo and Shadowless knew of Small Ginseng's capabilities and immediately became excited. 2 hours later, Emo looked at where Small Ginseng pointed speechlessly. He saw a God Spirit Range, a low-grade God Spirit Range, and it was surrounded by hills. Even a low-grade God Spirit Range was worth more than tens of extreme-grade Immortal ranges. More importantly, it contained God Spirit Chi that was suitable for Yemo's cultivation now. Emo was speechless because he saw more than 10 people surround it. No matter how shameless he was, he couldn't go up and rob it. Plus, there were 2 half-divines there. If they joined up, he would be outmatched. "Never mind, there's already people here. Let's go to another place." Emo shook his head. Small Ginseng said desperately, "Boss, I'm not talking about this one. A few thousand steps ahead of this one. There's more God Spirit Range. I don't know how many exactly, but I have to get close to be sure." Shadowless pretended and said, "Yeah boss, I feel there's God Spirit Range over there too." He knew he was a far cry from Small Ginseng in terms of treasure hunting, but he said this to prevent boss from thinking he's useless and throw him into the golden page world again. Emo saw the people ahead and said, "Why don't we wait till they dig it before we go?" "No, if they dig it, they can sense the other God Spirit ranges there. They don't know yet because they haven't pulled the God Spirit range out. If they don't pull it out, the natural spirit stealthing formation won't be broken." Small Ginseng said desperately, "In that case, let's hurry and go there." Emo dashed over the sky. He was more desperate than Small Ginseng. When Emo came here, people already saw him. They haven't decided on how to split it, so they haven't dug it yet. Seeing an immortal emperor middle stage dare to come here seemingly wanting a share too. Those immortal emperors looked at him with contempt. God Spirit Range was good, but one needed the power to get it. But soon, they realized Emo didn't come for them and went alone to another mountain and released a shovel magic artifact and dug. He didn't stop at all. They were shocked because this shovel was an extreme-grade immortal artifact and had no offensive capabilities. It was purely designed for digging God Spirit Range. With each shovel, a small mountain-sized mud was swept away. "Haha! There's someone like him?" One immortal emperor laughed. They were like watching a clown put on a show. They just dug out a low-grade God Spirit Range and now someone wanted to try their luck on the side. If there were that many God Spirit Ranges, they wouldn't need to have discord in deciding how to split it. He seems to have an Ice Ginseng King next to him. That's something equivalent to a Dao fruit or even better. Some people already saw Small Ginseng. Many people didn't say anything. They were planning to follow Emo when he left. "There really is God Spirit Range," someone called out in shock. When Emo dug for the third shovel, dense God Spirit Chi came out. "It's not one, it's two, it's Yin Yang Duo Range," another voice said. Emo didn't understand Yin Yang Dual Range before, but now he did. It was the best range for setting up sect formation. Putting the two together could automatically fill in God Spirit Chi that was tens of times better than a single range. Its use for cultivation was much better than one God Spirit Range too. He had dug out Yin Yang Dual Range at the Luo Chu 18 discs and 36 heaven domains, but he didn't understand it at the time and waste it. Emo was very quick. Before these people could come up, he already sent the 2 God Spirit Range into this golden page world. We chose the spot and haven't begun digging, but you took the Yin-Yang range away. Aren't you a bit too dominant? One immortal emperor middle stage who was signaled by a half-divine stopped Yemo who was going to leave and said. Yemo ignored the immortal emperor middle stage and put away small ginseng before saying to Shadowless, "Get ready to fight." Haha. I Nye Minglai have never seen an immortal emperor middle stage this cocky before. If it wasn't that my eyes are still open, I would have thought it was a divine emperor talking to me. Brother Lu, have you seen him before? A half-divine said from the distant. Unexpectedly, the Luo half-divine smiled. I've really seen it. Nye Minglai sneered, clearly thinking that the half-divine was saying this to compete God Spirit range with him. He said to that immortal emperor middle stage, "Kill him. In this world, power was everything. You could be weak, but you needed to know to respect the powerful. If you didn't, then people would kill you for no reason." In his view, Yemo should have long been dead. That immortal emperor middle stage was waiting for the half-divine to say this and immediately released his am. But as soon as he did, he felt a powerful domain binding. The next moment, his magic artifact slowed and even the light from it dimmed. Yemo hacked out with Zisu, God Art Crevice. The small basin land couldn't cover the heaven-shattering purple beam. This purple beam was much more stronger than when Yemo used Crevice before. The purple ray sliced across the entire basin and didn't care about the two half-divines and more than 10 immortal emperors standing in front of it. When this god art sliced down, all the people under it released their magic artifact. When they sensed the lethal force, even that half-divine's face changed. Splurge. That immortal emperor middle stage who wanted to stop Yemo was killed before he could release his god art. The purple ray disappeared. Zisu was still floating above, but the basin was very quiet. Yemo scanned the rest and said, "If no one else wants to rob me, I'm going." Nye Minglia's face changed. Even he couldn't kill that immortal emperor middle stage in one move before he could activate his god art. What made him so annoyed was that Yemo was only immortal emperor middle stage, but he used god art so recklessly. Everyone was under the attack. This person is too cocky. Brother Luo, what do you think? Nye Minglai would have attacked already if he was the only half-divine here. However, the other half-divine smiled and said, "Brother Nye, although we came first, but now I've changed my mind. I only want half of this low-grade God Spirit range. You can have that God Spirit herb from before." Then Lu half-divine waved his hand and that low-grade God Spirit range was brought up. He hacked with his magic artifact and it was split evenly from the middle. Then he sliced one half of it into 5 pieces and said, "You guys split it equally." Hearing this, the 5 took a piece without hesitation. Seeing this, Nye Minglia's face changed and split the other half into 6 and he took the larger piece. Yemo didn't say anything. He knew things weren't over yet. He was ready for a big battle, but from the attitude of that Lu half-divine, Yemo didn't feel he wanted to fight him. After they split the God Spirit range, they found there was a broken natural stealth formation. So that's it. Nye Minglai finally understood why Yemo was going to dig out the 2 God Spirit ranges immediately. The Lu half-divine's face was bad. He realized this too. Although Yemo didn't dig the God Spirit range they found, it was pretty much robbing their thing. If we dig out the first God Spirit range, the Yin-Yang dual range would be exposed. You dug it before us. If this isn't robbing, what is? Nye Minglai released his magic artifact and stopped in front of Yemo. The other 5 stopped in front of Yemo too. The Lu half-divine didn't leave and subtly sealed off Yemo's exit path. Clearly, he was unhappy with what Yemo did. "When I dug the 2 God Spirit ranges, did you know about it or not?" Yemo asked. Nye Minglai didn't want to fall into Yemo's word traps. "Humph, I clearly knew there were 2 low-grade God Spirit ranges there." Nye Minglai sneered. What he didn't expect was that as soon as he said this, Yemo punched over. He thought Nye Minglai was going to reason and he was going to explain. But since this guy was this shameless, what's the point in talking? As Yemo released Shatter Sky, he smashed out 5 lightning spear destruction, while pressing over with his immortal emperor domain. Yemo had decided to kill Nye Minglai first, so he used Spirit Sense God Art Crevice as well. Yemo used this move before and almost killed Feng Kong Grand Emperor. Feng Kong Grand Emperor's power at the time was no weaker than this half-divine. In Yimo's eyes, if Feng Kong Grand Emperor's immortal essence was completely converted to God essence, this Nie Minglai would be no match at all. The Void Fist force immediately swept over lethal force. Nie Minglai, who was amongst this terrifying lethal force, was very shocked. Facing against this terrifying space lethal force punch, he was like a small ship in raging ocean waters. Before he could think, he released his magic artifact 3 God Flame Sand. It instantly formed 3 heaven sand rivers, black, white and red. They were separated at the beginning, but as time went on, they were completely mixed, forming a whirlpool with soul-shocking flame. Rumble. Yimo's Shatter Sky Fist Force was swept in and disappeared in a few seconds. Yimo was shocked too. This was his first time seeing such terrifying magic artifact. When the two fought, no one came to gang up on him. Only Yimo knew it was because his domain's murderous chi was too ferocious and the others weren't that close with Nie Minglai, so they wanted to conserve strength. No one wanted to be killed like that immortal emperor middle stage. Nie Minglai was more shocked. Usually, when his sands devoured a god art, it would activated the flame in the middle of the sand. At this moment, if he activated the flame with full power, he would easily be able to kill his opponent. But today, his sands didn't ignite the middle flame. This meant that he would need to use his own god essence to light it up. That was very god essence consuming. He was also annoyed that no one else attacked Yimo. He couldn't care about that much, and just when he was going to use his god essence to activate the flame, he felt a 10 kilometers long purple sword ray appear in his sea of consciousness suddenly. It appeared from the edge of the heavens and was about to slice his sea of consciousness in half. He was all too familiar with this sword ray. Now that it appeared in his sea of consciousness, he immediately realized it was a top spirit sense god art. Nie Minglai couldn't care about activating his sand flames. He stacked up spirit sense walls wanting to seal this terrifying purple sword ray. Crack. That extremely terrifying tearing sound exploded in Nie Minglai's sea of consciousness. His face went pale as a paper. In his sea of consciousness, the purple sword ray easily broke his spirit sense wall and smashed into his sea of consciousness. Nie Minglai knew he was over. Other people couldn't hear the terrifying sound, but Nie Minglai knew how unbearable it was. There was a huge long crevice in his sea of consciousness and his spirit sense withered rapidly. He could no longer control his magic artifact and god art. The 3-color sand whirlpool slowed down and couldn't even defend, much less attack. Rumble. A few more lightning sounds came. 5 300-meter-long lightning spears suddenly arrived. Nie Minglai knew he should use the 3-color sand to stop it, but he couldn't control it. In just 1 second, the 5 lightning spear destruction drowned Nie Minglai. When the lightning disappeared and people could see clearly, Nie Minglai's burnt corpse remained on the ground. His storage ring and 3-color sand were already taken by Yimo. Those immortal emperors who surrounded Yimo quickly retreated in shock. The other half-divine was extremely shocked too. He could feel that Yimo wasn't ordinary. That's why he didn't agree to join up with Nie Minglai. Now that Yimo killed Nie Minglai in such a short time, he was truly shocked. He knew Nie Minglai's means clearly, especially that 3-colored magic artifact. He didn't have the absolute confidence to beat Nie Minglai, but this immortal emperor middle stage killed Nie Minglai easily. His power was definitely much stronger than him. Nie Minglai's face was suddenly pale and his magic artifact dimmed. Clearly, he was ambushed by Spirit Sense Cultivation method. Spirit Sense Cultivation method wasn't rare in the God Necropolis domain, but to use it to ambush a half-divine meant it was definitely a top Spirit Sense Cultivation method. He didn't believe Nie Minglai was underestimating the enemy, so the only possibility was that the Spirit Sense Cultivation method was too strong, and this immortal Emperor middle stage's Spirit Sense was too powerful. Yimo ate a few dual spirit pills. The level wasn't high, but it was very helpful in recovering Spirit Sense. It was a huge toll on his Spirit Sense to ambush a half-divine. If the other 5 attacked him together or that other half-divine attacked too, Yimo wasn't going to keep fighting. But Yimo calculated that when he killed Nie Minglai so quickly, the other people wouldn't dare to come up. He guessed right. Those immortal emperors not only didn't dare to gang up on him but retreated instead. The other half-divine didn't seem to want to fight at all. Dao friend, you're strong. I'm Star Fall Castle, Lu Guanyu. What's your name? The half-divine saluted with his fists. Emo said plainly, I'm just passing by. If Brother Lu doesn't have any other business, then farewell now. Lu Guanyu didn't expect that Emo didn't want to connect with him at all. He felt a bit awkward, but soon a dashing light came. Seeing this, Emo stopped wanting to leave. He knew this dashing light. It was Hung God Corner young mistress. She was covered in blood right now and no longer had her pride. There was only horror in her eyes. Emo's spirit sense immediately saw someone hunting her. He also knew the person hunting her. It was a half-divine who escaped from him, and his magic artifact was the heaven-shocking lamp. It gave him a strong impression as it could buff domain. The young mistress was very tattered. Seeing a few people here, she immediately charged over and called out, I'm Hung God Corner Hung Wanman. Dao friends? She saw someone familiar and immediately landed next to Emo. Emo, please help me on Runan's account. The Hung God Corner will thank you greatly. She was so desperate that she didn't even ask how Emo got in here. Emo's power was nothing to her, but she needed to ask him for help. She knew that if she kept fleeing, she would truly die. Emo sneered. Her words were like shit to him. If it wasn't for Runan, he would have attacked her already. But Emo didn't look attack. He didn't care if she looked down on him because they would be people of two worlds. He hasn't left yet because she has something he wants. He knew from Runan that she had at least 2 lightning sound aegis fruits. He really needed it now, so he immediately said, These are all my friends here. If you give me a lightning sound aegis fruit, I promise you'll be fine. How do you know I have it? The young mistress looked at Emo in horror, but she calmed down a bit as she saw the half-divine didn't come over to Emo. She had the feeling that the half-divine wasn't looking at her, but at Emo. You don't need to worry about that. You just need to give me one and you'll be safe. Otherwise, even if I don't attack you, everyone here has heard it and you won't get away. Emo said casually. Young mistress's face changed. She looked around at everyone and saw they were all looking at her. Now that it was exposed, she was certain if she left here, it wouldn't just be a half-divine hunting her. This basin was silent, but young mistress could tell no one came over. She subconsciously looked at the burnt body on the ground and actually believed these people were all Emo's friends. Otherwise, why did no one attack her? At this moment, one immortal emperor tertiary stage suddenly saluted with his fists. Everyone, I'll be leaving first. Clearly, he didn't want to mess with Emo nor wait at this troublesome place. But just when he said this, Emo said, It's no rush. I'm discussing business with someone. Go after I'm done with this. Perhaps I might have some business to discuss with you. The immortal emperor tertiary stage's face changed. How could it be good that Emo was discussing business with him? But he didn't move his foot at all. He had seen Emo's power. If Emo attacked him, how could he get away? Young mistress, who was very dubious, saw that with one word from Emo, an immortal emperor tertiary stage didn't dare to leave. She was more certain of Emo's words. Regardless if these were Emo's friends, they were scared of him. She didn't hesitate and took out a lightning sound aegis fruit jade box. This is one. It's yours. Emo felt the powerful time wave in the box and took it while saying, Let me check its authenticity. The young mistress was furious. She felt Emo was targeting her with this. Emo opened the box and indeed the flow of time came from the Dao fruit. There was a calling for him to explore. Emo immediately closed the jade box and took in a long breath while putting the jade box away. He knew this was the real lightning sound aegis fruit for sure. At this moment, Emo saluted with his fists to everyone. I've just made a deal with this person. Dao friends, please give me some face and let this Hung God Corner young mistress leave 5 minutes early. After that, I won't care about anything else. Do you have any opinions? No one replied, but no one left. Emo turned around to the extremely shocked young mistress. You have 5 minutes. That's enough, right? Young mistress suppressed her shock and immediately said, That's completely enough. I'm worried about the person who came hunting for me. Then, she looked at that half-divine, clearly fearful of his god art. Emo sneered, He doesn't dare to. I've let him go before. If he dares to attack, I will chase him through the entire Hua God Mountains if need be to kill him. The Lu half-divine was even more shocked. He knew who this half-divine hunting the young mistress was. Yet, even he lost to this immortal emperor middle stage. 5 minutes was nothing to him, and he was willing to give Emo some face. He didn't need to fight Emo for this 5 minutes. However, the half-divine who chased Over's face was green. There was killing chi circulating his body. It was as though he was about to explode at any time. Although the half-divine was threatened by Emo and wanted to immediately kill him, he thought of Yemo's powerful attacks and stopped his impulse. Soon, he thought of something else and showed some coldness in his eyes. His expression calmed down and he listened to Emo, staying where he was. Seeing that the half-divine with a green face and not dare to hunt her, she rejoiced and disappeared in a dashing light. Seeing her leave, Emo saluted with his fists and said, "Thank you for helping Dao friends. Now that there's 5 Minchus left, let's do some business." Hearing this, no one answered. Emo just did some business with the young mistress and a lightning sound age's fruit was gone like that. Who else dared to do business with Emo? Did they think they had too much good things on them? Emo didn't mind seeing this. He took out a stone table and placed a big jade bowl on the table. Then, he poured down at the jade bowl with the jade bottle. Everyone was confused with what Emo was doing. They all stared at the jade bowl wanting to see what Emo was pouring out. It's 7-star extreme well. People immediately recognized and stared at it with their eyes wide open. Was this something that could be taken out so easily? This was a treasure that could compare with Dao fruits. If it wasn't that Emo's power was too absurd, there would be people going up and robbing it. Emo didn't mind and said, "That's right, this is 7-star extreme well. I'm using it to exchange for fake chaos spirit herbs, or some divine Dao spirit items." God spirit herbs were fake chaos spirit herbs. It didn't have level difference, but different God spirit herb had huge difference in price. Emo wanted to exchange for these God spirit herbs to get ready to break through to Divine Pill Emperor. Those who could concoct God level and above pills were Divine Pill Emperors. Whether you concocted pills for Dao Molding Divine Emperor or Primordial Essence Divine Emperor, they were all called Divine Pill Emperor. Since the ancient times, it was extremely rare for people to reach Pill Divine, as it not only required pill concoction skills but also cultivation level. You even had to have God Flame or you couldn't become Divine Pill Emperor. You could concoct God Pills with Immortal Flames or even Nirvana Flames, but that was the lowest level God Pill. It didn't even have God Runes, much less Dao Runes or World Law. If it involved Dao Fruit or top-level God Spirit Herb, then God Flame was required. In order to concoct God Pill, you must fuse inside your understanding of world law and preserve the world law of the Dao fruits. You couldn't do this if you didn't have high enough cultivation level. Although everyone who could concoct God pills were called Divine Pill Emperors, but in order to divide them there was names respective to the cultivation level. Those who could concoct Dao Molding God pills were called Dao Molding Divine Pill Emperor. Those who could concoct Dao Actualization God pills were called Dao Actualization Divine Pill Emperor. In fact, after Immortals vindicate Dao, they rarely use pills, as the cultivation after Dao vindication is determined by your understanding of world laws. Fusing these understandings into your great God art required not just pills. Most importantly, there were pretty much no Divine Pill Emperors after Dao Essence. Therefore, people had to rely on themselves to learn world laws, and because of that, Dao fruits and Chaos Spirit items are so precious. Even if Dao fruits and Chaos Spirit items are consumed directly, their effects are amazing. Emo didn't take out the well water to be cocky. He had his plans. He had the yin-yang dual range and the Aegis fruit. He was planning to go to a place for solitary cultivation. He wasn't going to wait till the mountain closed and then go out with everyone. If he dared to go out, it would be suicide. Emo asked Nyo Runin about the Muhua God Mountain. If the place closed, you had to go out or the time whirlpools would ravage everywhere. Emo didn't want to go out, but he had his own way. His Golden Page world's 5 elements were complete. If he stayed in here, even if he couldn't go anywhere else, he could stay inside the Golden Page world and cultivate. Emo suspected that the Dao Vindication Divine Emperor at the Chengzeng Lake had been cultivating in the mountain. With this precedent, what would Emo be afraid of? Seeing the well, the eyes of that Lu half-divine lit up. He immediately took out more than 10 types of God Spirit Herb to Emo and said, "Dao friend, Have a look at how much these God Spirit herb can get? Emo saw that the God Spirit herbs were very ordinary. They were hard to find in the immortal realm but not so extraordinary in the God Necropolis domain, so he said, "You can get 1 bottle. I'll give you the bottle, you put it in yourself." Then Emo waved out a jade bottle. Seeing this, the Lu half-divine rejoiced, feeling that this trip was worth it. He was only expecting half as much. With this, the other immortal emperors took out their God Spirit herbs to trade with Emo. They wouldn't take out their precious ones, it was just ordinary ones, but Emo didn't reject them at all. 5 minutes later, the bowl of well water was long gone. Only that half-divine with the heaven-shocking lamp didn't come, but he didn't leave either. His eyes were very calm, as though the differences between them were settled. Emo put away everything and said, "Thank you everyone. The business will end here today, it was a pleasant deal. Goodbye." Then, turned and left. Everyone said goodbye to Emo. After Emo left, the half-divine followed the direction Emo left. Just after 10 seconds, Emo stopped and looked coldly at the half-divine and said, "Do you want to fight with me again? I promise you won't get away this time." Emo had his concerns. He used too much spirit sense before, and although he didn't fear fighting this half-divine, it was probably hard to keep him here. "I'm no match for you. It's pointless to keep fighting," the half-divine said calmly. "Then what did you chase me up for?" Emo asked. The half-divine took out a gust of gray lines and said, "Because of this, if you want it we can collaborate." Emo scanned the line and his eyes narrowed quickly. This line gave him the same feel as the Ages fruit. However, this line carried the murderous chi of the Ages. This was definitely a top-level treasure. "What is this?" Emo asked calmly. However, this half-divine just threw it to Emo and said, "Have a look. If you like it, we can discuss the collaboration." Emo grabbed the gray line and felt the impure time chi. He blurted out, "This is primordial abstruse string?" The half-divine laughed. "You're right, it's only a bit, but if you're willing to collaborate we can get 10s or even 100s of times more." Emo didn't think this half-divine would be good enough to collaborate with him, but he didn't want to give this line back, so he said, "Sure. How much for this string?" "This string is nothing. If we collaborate, there's large sums of them waiting for us to collect." The half-divine persisted. Emo smiled. "I have to get this deal done before we collaborate. Name your price." "Okay, you can give me any bowl of 7-star extreme well water. The main part is the discussion on how we share things." The half-divine spoke as though he didn't care about the well at all. He took out a bowl only 1/10 of the one before and gave it to him. "Done deal, and I gave you a jade bowl for free. Since this guy wanted to act cool, he'll let him have it. If he had smaller bowls, he would take it out." To Emo, he would deal without hesitation even if he took out a few of the first big bowls. Getting this ball of primordial abstruse silk was a big earn for him. He wouldn't hesitate at all. "Okay." This half-divine put a few restrictions on the jade bowl, while the corner of his lips spasmed. "Okay. Let's talk about our collaboration." He meant a bowl that was as big as before, but he didn't expect Emo to give such a small bowl. However, he said nothing. With how greedy Emo was, he would fall into traps eventually. "Tell me." "I'm listening," Emo said casually. "The place I'm talking about is Shan Yun Cliff. It's 10,000 km from Shan Yun Cliff. I got my string there. If you're willing to collaborate, we can go there together." The half-divine didn't seem to be worried. Emo couldn't see any signs of lying from the half-divine's eyes, but he still asked, "Since there's such a good place, why would you invite me over?" The half-divine said plainly, "Although I want to kill you, but I know only you have the right to get the strings with me. If it's someone weaker, he would be no match for that person." "You're saying there's already someone there?" Emo asked with a scorn. The half-divine said, "It's because I can't deal with him alone that I left helplessly. Don't worry, although that person isn't weak, he doesn't know where the exact location of the primordial abstruse strings are. I've seen your heaven-shocking lamp, whose god art could be more powerful than that. You wouldn't be lying to me, right?" Emo's tone went cold. He wanted the primordial abstruse strings, but his spirit sense power hasn't recovered yet. He didn't trust this half-divine at all. "It's because that person knows a great god art, so..." What you're saying he knows great god art? Emo interrupted. Yes. It's because of that I want to find a powerful help. Emo sneered. You can go find one then. Then Emo ignored this person and left in a dashing light. If that half-divine still chases him, he would kill him without hesitation even if it meant him using his spirit sense again. If it was before, Emo might really impulsively go fight an immortal who knows great god art, but after seeing the Tao Vindication Divine Emperor's god art, he completely realized that no matter how invincible he was amongst peers, he would be no match for Tao Vindication Divine Emperor. Those who knew great god art was Divine Emperor for sure. This half-divine wanted to trick him over so he could kill him using someone else. Even if that person was not Divine Emperor, Emo wasn't going to fight him if the new god art. He knew that before he reached Tao Vindication, he definitely wouldn't be able to beat those powerful beings with great god art. That's why Emo left without explanation. The half-divine's face went green. BTU, he didn't dare to keep chasing Emo. If he dared to, then Emo would kill him. He didn't expect Emo to have fought someone with great god art. If he knew, he might try another way. Usually, no matter how powerful the immortal emperor, if he fought with a being with god art, he would die. How could Emo live freely? Such a cunning guy. When I reach Tao Vindication, the first I will kill is you. The half-divine said. A few days later, Emo found this extremely far barren lands and went underground and into the Golden Page world. After coming in, Emo found in shock that his world had completely changed. The world was almost changing every moment. He stood in the air and felt that once his cultivation level reached a certain level he could control the weather in this world. Emo looked at the chaos tree. It withered quite a lot due to saving him before, but now it had completely grown and was greener than before. Emo could still feel its intimacy and calling to him. Emo thought of what small ginseng said. If his world was completed, the chaos tree could recognize him as master. But Emo didn't do this immediately. He wanted to do this after he vindicated Tao. Chaos tree was a spirit item and even had its own thinking. Emo had the feeling that when he vindicated Tao, the chaos tree and golden page world could all help him. Everything was going as Emo pleased. He put down the rest of the things and started to organize the storage rings. What made Emo rejoiced was that in these storage rings, he found nearly 200k top-grade god crystals and half a low-grade god spirit range. Other than this, he found tens of god spirit herb and even 2 Tao fruits. Regardless if it was law Tao fruit or not, it was still extremely valuable. Emo was Forgery Grandmaster, so he didn't care about magic artifact, but even so, he still found a low-grade flying god artifact. It was even faster than the space-time boat. Emo held a fist-sized rock. It was completely blue and had strong spiritual power. There's a purple way stone. Emo rejoiced. This stone was almost as valuable to him as Tao fruit. It said that only purple way stars would have this stone. It's a top-level god artifact forgery material. He didn't expect a half-divine to have this. His Zisu desperately needed an upgrade, and getting the purple way stone and the primordial abstruse strings was perfect. With these two materials, Emo could definitely keep upgrading his Zisu. He was a top forgery grandmaster and he wasn't worried about flame. His blue like morning sky was already a top immortal flame. He just needed astral flame marrow to upgrade it, and he happened to have it but just haven't used it yet. He put away these things and started to set up the yin-yang dual range and the time formation disc. He cultivated to Immortal Emperor peak stage, he with large amounts of god crystals and god spirit chi. As for Tao fruits, Emo didn't use it now. He didn't even take it out to look again. He knew now that if he used them now, it would be a waste. At the bottom of the Changzheng Lake, the Tao Molding Divine Emperor eventually didn't trap the Tao Actualization Divine Emperor. After his Golden Gate was attacked a few times, that Tao Actualization Divine Emperor smashed it open with magic artifact. Those tens of immortal emperors tricked in came out with the Tao Actualization Divine Emperor. Seeing this, the Tao Molding Divine Emperor immediately ran off. However, what he didn't expect was that this Tao Actualization Divine Emperor didn't chase after him immediately, and instead kept looking for Emo. Clearly, he knew from other immortal emperors that Emo got more good things. Even that yellow cloud robe half-divine was looking for Emo. Time flew by. Yemo had been in the Muhua God Mountain for a few decades, and that Tao actualization divine emperor who waited outside left that desert. But before he left, he still set up all sorts of formations and restrictions. If Yemo came out and touched these formations and restriction, he would know immediately. He didn't believe that Immortal Emperor Middle Stage would die. He was certain that Yemo didn't die. The blue bead Yemo took from the purple-robed man was beyond truth spirit world. Such thing might really survive the Muhua God Mountain. In a place outside the immortal realm 33 heaven domains, there was an extended mountain range. The nearby rivers surrounded this mountain range, and extremely dense immortal spirit well surrounded the area. Immortal birds and immortal spirit beasts ran around. If one didn't come here personally, they would definitely not know there was such a beautiful place outside the 33 heaven domains. This place was the small heaven domain. On the main peak of the mountain range, there was an extremely ancient yet exquisite palace doors opening. Two women came here with dashing light. "Come in." A benign voice sounded. Sect members Luo Biue and Mu Xiaoyun greet master. The two women came in and bowed down. There was a man sitting at the top of the palace whose age couldn't be seen. He seemed really old in one moment and really young in another moment. He nodded and said, "Stand on the side." Luo Biue and Mu Xiaoyun carefully stood on the side, and this man said, "I've been out once. There was a battle at the top of Snow Volcano. The top is heavily damaged. It's probably very hard for you to rebuild the Gemini sect." The two listened intently. Seeing this, the man nodded and continued, "I went out of solitary cultivation and heard about something. There's a tunnel to the God Necropolis domain from the immortal realm. This is a realm formation door. However, you must be at least Immortal Emperor to enter. Biue, your cultivation speed recovered quickly and you're already Immortal Emperor primary stage. Xiaoyun is an unbelievable prodigy. You've reached abstruse immortal in less than 100 years. Master, what is the God Necropolis domain?" Luo Biu asked in shock. The man sighed, "The sacred grounds for Tao vindication. I heard it's extremely broken down, but even so, Tao vindication is common there. One can not only reach Tao vindication but also go beyond that. You can surpass Tao molding divine emperor and even reach Tao essence or higher. There's no Tao vindicator who doesn't want to go to God Necropolis domain. I've seen divine emperor from the God Necropolis domain come. He didn't reach Tao essence, but the immortal realm is broken due to him. His great god art still scares me when I think about it." "Master, are you going to the God Necropolis domain?" Luo Biue asked in confusion. She felt this place was very good. She wanted to rebuild the Gemini sect, not go to some God Necropolis domain. The man said, "Yes, you're already Immortal Emperor power. There's no pressure going to God Necropolis domain. As for Xiaoyun, I can barely bring her in with my DMBD. Her talent is extremely absurd. If she can cultivate in the God Necropolis domain, she can probably surpass me in the future." "Master, disciple don't want to go to the God Necropolis domain," Mu Xiaoyun quickly said. "Why? You have more future and potential there. I've seen the void formation door. Its formation means are extremely high. Even so, it won't last very long. Once the door breaks, the God Necropolis domain people can come into immortal realm. Everyone in the immortal realm will be fish on chopping board. Entering the God Necropolis domain is for self-protection." The man said, "My cultivation motivation has been to find my husband. Now I've come to the immortal realm. It's even further than the magical continent. If I go to the God Necropolis domain, I wouldn't know when I would be able to see my husband again," Mu Xiaoyun quickly said. The man frowned upon hearing this. "Even a Tao vindication divine emperor like me can't break into the cultivation realm easily, much less enter a mortal realm. Went out once just for your matter. There's an ancient realm traversing formation in the immortal realm. If you find that formation and then use them runes, you can go to the cultivation realm." "Master," Mu Xiaoyun called out in excitement. If there really was that formation, she could go back to the magic continent and see Yemo again. According to Martial Sister Biue, Yemo might be Foundation Establishment State. If she kept wasting time and Yemo couldn't reach Golden Core State, she wouldn't be able to see her husband again. If she could see Yemo, She wouldn't care about some cultivation or Tao vindication. The man sighed, but after I've been to that place, the formation is already broken due to use. At least 3 bunch of people used it. Even with my capabilities, I can't repair it. Despite having some top-level realm-traversing runes, it's pointless if we don't have the formation. Seeing Mu Xiaoyun's pitiful look, the man could only say Xiaoyun. Other than that person, you're the most talented person I've seen. With your talent, if you can reach Tao vindication quickly and reach Tao actualization, you can probably tear the realm barrier of the immortal realm and return to the cultivation realm. So it's not hard for you to go to the God Necropolis domain, and it's not bad either. Your cultivation method has a very big origin, even I can't see through it. That will benefit you even more. Master, after going in the God Necropolis domain, can I come back to the immortal realm? Mu Xiaoyun felt more sad. No matter how much she trusted Yemo, in a spirit-chi-arid place like the magical continents, Yemo wouldn't be able to reach Golden Core state. She didn't believe Yemo could find the place she went. Even if Yemo found that place and entered the cultivation realm, it was the law of the jungle everywhere. Would Yemo be lucky to get protected by a sect? She hoped Yemo reached Golden Core state and found a place to hide, so she can go find him after she reached Tao actualization. Hearing this, the man said slowly, no, if one can easily return to the immortal realm from the God Necropolis domain, I believe the immortal realm would have long been taken over. Master, I don't want to go, Mu Xiaoyun said in a low voice. She had her plans. If she stayed in the immortal realm, even if she couldn't go back to the magical continent one day, Yemo might be able to ascend to the immortal realm. Then, she would be able to see Yemo again. If she went to the God Necropolis domain, then there was almost no chance to see Yemo. The man clearly knew what Mu Xiaoyun thought and said calmly, I can understand what you think. I can clearly tell you that the formation door will only last a few hundred years. After that, the formation door will break and people from the God Necropolis domain can easily entree the immortal realm. If they do, it might mean the entire immortal realm would be forged into a truth spirit world. Luo Bue shivered. This would mean that everyone in the immortal realm would be insects and livestock. Mu Xiaoyun shivered. She clearly knew what this meant too. Seeing this, the man continued, and I feel that an enemy of mine hasn't died. His soul has gathered and in at most 100 years, he would rebirth. If this person returns to life, my small heaven domain would be crushed. This is why I have to go to the God Necropolis domain. Who is this person, Master? Luo Bue subconsciously asked. The man sighed. He's called Truth Divine Emperor. Although I'm a Divine Emperor and have a title called Zhenzhong Divine Emperor, I feel the things I did before wasn't careful at all. Since this has already happened, there's no point complaining. Despite this, the man was satisfied as he was the only one who survived the battle with Truth Divine Emperor entirely. Do you come from Luo Yu continent? Outside an immortal Ascension palace in Moe heaven, an abstruse immortal carefully asked a pretty blue-robed girl. She looked like she was 18 and was extremely pretty. It was like she was a true immortal and the rest of the immortals here were mortals. Luo Xian shook her head. No, I've never heard of Luo Yu continent. She carefully scanned her spirit sense out and thought, was this the immortal realm? The immortal spirit chi here was indeed very dense. She fell off the dual stone cliff and went into a void teleportation formation and was teleported to a cultivation realm called Xinqiang. Unlike Mu Xiaoyun, she was teleported to an immortal estate ruin. It was left behind by someone called Ling Bo Goddess. There were not only plenty of cultivation resource but also a precise description of the cultivation realm. After she ascended to the immortal realm, she left behind that immortal estate. Luo Xian's cultivation knowledge came from Ling Per estate. She reached foundation establishment state in the estate before going out carefully. After going out, she realized how cruel the cultivation realm was. There were many times she almost fell into the hands of other people. She also realized what cultivation slave was, so she went back to the estate and cultivated. Due to the top-level resources left behind and her talent was top-notch, she reached truth realization state peak stage in a few hundred years. After that, Luo Xian's spirit controlled the estate and roamed the Xinqiang continent. Her cultivation level was peak of the entire continent. No one would offend a truth realization state peak stage for no reason. She traveled the entire cultivation realm to find a way back to the magical continent. She finally realized that Yemo was a cultivator and why Yemo said to her that his dream would never be realized. At the same time, she realized the terrifying value of the 2 golden pages she gave Yemo. However, she didn't care about the golden pages. She wanted to go back and see Yemo and help him fulfill his ideal. Yemo helped her fulfill her wish. She knew that after all these years, her sect would be vastly different. If there was one person she knew she could see, it was Yemo. After all, Yemo was a cultivator. She really wanted to find Yemo and see if the small jade bottle she left Yemo was still there. But she had searched for a few decades and had no results. Her cultivation level reached peak and couldn't keep staying, so she was forced to ascend to the immortal realm. Hearing Luo Xian wasn't from the Luo Yu continent, the abstruse immortal moved iced in disappointment but still said, "Our MOU immortal sect is taking in disciples. If you want to join, I can bring you there." "Thank you, Qian Bei. Wan Bei don't want to join a sect yet." Luo Xian rejected. The abstruse immortal nodded and said, "You've just ascended. I suggest you cultivate in the city and consider leaving after you convert your cultivation essence to immortal essence." Luo Xian thanked again. At the same time, in a small mosque in Huangzheng Heaven, a woman who was sitting with her eyes closed opened her eyes and said in disbelief, "You got my heritage and came to the immortal realm? Let me see who this person is." She suddenly got up and seemed ethereal. She had this serene feeling to her as though some Tao wave was emanating from her. She didn't need to use any music instrument, and there was Buddhist sound surrounding her making her seem like the goddess of the immortal realm. She moved and disappeared from the mosque. "Goddess, I'm from Zishuang sect Moe Heaven. It's an immortal king sect. If you're willing to join us, I can test your immortal spirit root." Another man came up and saluted with his fists. Before Luo Xian could answer, she heard a cold voice. "She won't join your Zishuang sect. Move aside." The man was going to get angry but found it was an extremely beautiful goddess. There was a rainbow behind her back like she was some female Buddha. The sect members quickly ate his words and retreated with his hands together. Even the rest of the people moved aside. Luo Xian looked at this goddess, then made people want to worship her and had this strange feeling. "Do you want to come with me?" she said calmly, but her voice seemed to lure Luo Xian into nodding. Seeing this, the goddess waved up a rainbow and disappeared with Luo Xian. After a while, Luo Xian reacted and bowed. "Qian Bei. Wan Bei just ascended to the immortal realm. Why did Qian Bei bring Wan Bei?" The goddess smiled, "Due to fate." "Fate?" Luo Xian stared at her in shock. "There is fate between us. When I was in the cultivation realm, I had a title called Ling Pa. People called me Ling Pa Goddess." Hearing this, Luo Xian immediately bowed. "Wan Bei greet Ling Pa Qian Bei. Wan Bei got Qian Bei's immortal estate, and that's why I was able to ascend to the immortal realm." Ling Pa smiled, "That is fate. Before I was powerful and left a few tunnels to the cultivation realm in a few mortal realms. Only you got my heritage. This is fate." "Which realm did you come from?" "Wan Bei came from magical continent?" Luo Xian quickly said. "It's that place." Ling Pa repeated with a strange face but instantly recovered and asked, "What's your name?" "Wan Bei Luo Xian." Luo Xian said. Ling Pa Goddess nodded. "Luo Xian, you cultivated the heritage I left behind in the cultivation realm. Do you want to be my disciple and keep cultivating with me?" Luo Xian hesitated briefly and said, "I'm willing." "Okay." Ling Pa Goddess nodded in satisfaction. "I have another title called Ling Pa Divine Emperor. You don't know now, but it's okay, you will eventually know." She looked into the distant void and said, "I should have long left here, but I always felt I lost something. Now that you came, that feeling disappeared. One could see there's indeed fate between us. There will be a huge turmoil in the immortal realm. I'm too weak and can't change things. The only path is to go to the source of the turmoil." Luo Xian didn't know what Divine Emperor was, and now that Ling Pa Goddess said her power was too weak, she thought her master was only an ordinary being in the immortal realm. So she asked, "Master, where's the only path?" "God Necropolis Domain." Ling Pa Divine Emperor answered seriously. I really want those smart people in the immortal realm to head towards the God Necropolis domain and offer their power in preserving the immortal realm. However, there aren't many like this. A few went to the God Necropolis domain, but it's purely for themselves. No matter what, just because a few grand emperors went in, didn't mean that more people went in. There was no news of those who headed towards the God Necropolis domain yet. No one would care about how many from the immortal realm went to the God Necropolis domain, nor did Yemo. Yemo was in a crucial moment. His cultivation level was no longer Immortal Emperor middle stage. After the time formation disk ran for 100 years, almost 10,000 years had passed inside. Yemo's cultivation level was almost Immortal Emperor peak stage. Crack. The yin-yang dual range turned to dust. The god crystals he got were used up, but he was still only at Immortal Emperor tertiary stage. Yemo sighed. He had used plenty of 7-star extreme well water, but his body refinement cultivation was still stuck at Immortal God Body peak stage. Now that he used up all his god crystals and god spirit range, he was still that bit from Immortal Emperor peak stage. If there was something he got out of these years, he upgraded his blue like morning sky to god flame and raised Zisu to half-god artifact. Zisu changed from an ugly look to a pretty murder weapon. It carried a slab of purple color, and when released, it seemed there were blue stars circulating it. Even if it wasn't released, there was a sliver of aged feeling. It wasn't that the materials Yemo had weren't good, but Yemo's forgery skills weren't good enough. The aged feeling was due to the primordial abstruse string. The stars circulating it was caused by the purple waystone. Time passed really quickly. Yemo sighed and put away the time formation disk but didn't dare to come out of the golden page world. He expanded his spirit sense out of the golden page world, and it was immediately annihilated by the time whirlpools. They seemed to be everywhere. Yemo could imagine that if he wasn't in the golden page world and went out, he would be instantly torn to pieces or turned to bones. That's right, his power was much higher than Immortal Emperor middle stage, but was there any use? If he wasn't experienced in time law, he wouldn't be able to walk in here. Yemo concocted a pile of dual spirit pill and started to carefully sense the time law outside the golden page world. His spirit sense kept getting annihilated, but he kept sending his spirit sense out. If it was some ordinary person, he would have crippled already or his sea of consciousness would have exploded, but although Yemo's face was pale, he didn't give up. He reached out his spirit sense again and again. Although Yemo didn't learn the time law, this method of cultivation made his spirit sense tougher. However, his spirit sense was receiving a huge toll. He ate again the dual spirit pills again and again. He was even ready to eat that lightning sound ages fruit. It was a waste to eat it now, but Yemo had no choice. Even if it was a waste, he would have to eat it. As long as he could learn a sliver of time law by eating it, he could improve his power. At this moment, he felt that he was about to capture that sliver of time chi, but he couldn't completely grasp it. It was like something was in his hands, but every time he tried to grab it, it would slip out. Yemo opened the jade box and grabbed that age's Dao fruit. He had decided to use it. Regardless if it worked or not, he would have to try. Time law was one of the hardest law to master. Yemo held the fruit in his hand, and there was this indescribable feeling of time emitting from the fruit. Yemo immediately felt that he stood in a river of time. Endless waters of time flew past him. He felt the house in Ninghai, the prosperity of Luoyu City. He felt Xianxia he carried on his back before. He felt that small house under the mountain and Luoying who embraced him. Time flew by like water, like falling leaves that turned to rotten leaves on the ground before disappearing. Time flew by and life seemed to be in the flick of a finger. This subtle law flowed into his essence spirit and consciousness from the age's fruit. He just obscurely felt the passing and flow of time. Perhaps countless years passed. Perhaps it was just an instant. At this moment, Yemo felt everything around suddenly stop. The fruit brought out a lightning spark that went into his consciousness. Yemo suddenly woke up and subconsciously grabbed with his hands. That sliver of time chi seemed to have been grabbed by his hand. The world seemed to have stopped in this instant in eternity by his hand. The four Xians were all in his will. Yemo suddenly had this sliver of enlightenment. He released Zissou and a 30 kilometers purple sword ray split the space apart. There was sliver of lightning around the sword ray as though the thunder god was striking down. The purple ray landed and Emo suddenly took a step forward. The light breathe in the space seemed to have been paused. The entire space paused. But that purple ray still sliced across the silent world and smashed into the ground, creating a terrifying ravine. After everything passed, the light wind continued to blow forward and everything returned to animation. Instant, eternity, eternity, instant. Emo looked at the long ravine and murmured with a pale face. When he paused the space in that instant, everything was eternity. I understand. Emo put away Zissou and murmured. His move could pause the surrounding time for 1 second. He could kill anything in this second. That second was instant, but the time in that instant was eternity. This was just a sliver of time law. His move was near great god art but was far from great god art. He used this one move and all his god essence was sucked dry. Such terrifying time law. This move will be called instant second. Perhaps one day, I can hack out a move truly worthy of being called eternity. Emo murmured. He raised his hand and that lightning sound age's fruit was long gone. He didn't eat it, it just disappeared in his hand. It's good indeed, Emo said with a pity and then ate a few pills. 15 minutes later, Emo raised his hand again. That 30 kilometers long ravine was instantly repaired. So that person didn't use a great god art. It was just the difference in cultivation level. Emo was at the border of creating a great god art and finally knew that Dao molding divine emperor's move wasn't great god art. True great god arts were god arts fused with law. That Dao molding divine emperor controlled the Changjiang lake water, but he forcefully used his powerful essence qi and domain. It only had a sliver of space law inside. If it was a real great god art, the lake water could easily kill him. Emo breathed easy. Although his instant second only went for a second, one could do many things in a second. His Zissou could completely use this second to kill someone and his shatter space could tear the opponent apart. Emo realized that time law was more terrifying than space law. Just when Emo carefully extended his spirit sense outside the golden page world again, there was this cracking sound in his bones. At this moment, his god essence seemed more powerful and his sea of consciousness was clearer as it expanded even more. At this moment, Emo looked at his meridians and Dan Tion in disbelief. After learning Ist, his cultivation level reached peak stage. All sorts of Dao runes circulated in Emo's will. Emo knew he was Immortal Emperor peak stage. Emo could no longer suppress his joy. It was time to go out. Emo soon calmed down and scanned his spirit sense outside the golden page world again. Now that he mastered a sliver of time law, he could go out. Even if he couldn't leave the mountain, he was going to leave the golden page world. Emo's spirit sense just appeared outside and moments later, a time whirlpool swept by. Emo felt his sea of consciousness twisting in pain and soon, his spirit sense disappeared. Emo ate a few dual spirit pills and his face was bad. Although he learned instant second, going out now was suicide. If he couldn't go in the mountain, it meant that if the mountain didn't open again, he would have to stay here forever. It wasn't easy for the mountain to reopen. From the news he got, it sometimes opened once every tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of years. Sometimes it was just in 2 or 3 years. There was no rule to it. Emo suddenly thought of the Dao molding divine emperor next to the lake. He wondered if that guy went out. Emo was certain that Dao molding divine emperor had always been in the Muhua God Mountain and was cultivating there. That divine estate at the bottom of the lake probably helped him stay there. Thinking about this, Emo immediately wanted to go over to the Changjiang Lake and see. He couldn't go over, but he could control the golden page world to go over. He definitely wouldn't be able to beat that Dao molding divine emperor despite him being Immortal Emperor peak stage and knowing instant second god art. He had a trump card against divine emperors, but if it couldn't kill the divine emperor, he would have to wait for death. But Emo wasn't very worried. Even if he couldn't kill the Dao molding divine emperor, he could run away. A few months later, Emo came back to the Changjiang Lake. His face was pale and his sea of consciousness was heavily injured. It was very slow to control the golden page world to fly, and he had to keep scanning his spirit sense out. If it was some other immortal emperor, he probably wouldn't be able to come this far. Luckily, he knew a sliver of time law and had plenty of dual spirit pills. Next to the lake, Yimo started repairing his sea of consciousness. After an entire year, Yimo's sea of consciousness recovered. After all this, his spirit sense became sharper and more powerful. It was also more flexible. The lake was still the same, but there was a thin layer of mist. Yimo scanned his spirit sense out again. Yimo was soon shocked. He found that if he reached his spirit sense near 30 meters of the lake, there was no time whirlpool. Yimo suppressed his joy and continued to watch for a day before confirming it really was so. Yimo breathed easy and came out of the golden page world standing at the border of the lake. The blood-red lake water looked eerie and scary. At this moment, he seemed to see countless souls screaming. His spirit sense couldn't scan to the bottom, so Yimo flew out into the lake without hesitation. He needed to check that divine estate, so he would have to dive down. Yimo was very careful. He was scared that the Tao-molding divine emperor hadn't left. As soon as Yimo went into the water, he felt a powerful special pressure squeeze at him. There was this lethal force that wanted to shatter his soul squeeze in from the two sides. The invisible space had completely bound him, making him unable to escape. Yimo was carefully watching out at every moment. When this space lethal force squeezed over, he immediately attacked. Shatter Sky Punch smashed out. There was clearly a space law covering the lake. If he couldn't break it, he would have to wait and die. The shatter space also carried a sliver of space law. Yimo learned a sliver of space law when he was just an abstruse immortal. Although he didn't progress much from it, the Tao-molding divine emperor only learned a sliver too. The Shatter Sky Punch brought out the nearby blood lake water and formed 9 space fist forces and smashed on this invisible space barrier. Rumble. The space binding broke apart with the Shatter Sky Punch. An invisible crack appeared on the space barrier. There was only small cracking sounds. Yimo dashed out as soon as the clash happened. The space binding already cracked once, and with Yimo dashing like this, it disappeared like the nearby water bubbles. Without this space binding pressure, the lake water instantly squeezed out, forming a 1 km tall water pillar. Yimo used this blood water pill to dash out of the lake and land next to the lake. At this moment, a red axe hacked open where Yimo was before. After being hacked, the lake didn't seem to be a lake but a huge watermelon that was sliced open from the middle. In a second, the water closed up again and a man dashed out of the lake. It was the Tao-molding divine emperor who attacked you again. It's you again! The Tao-molding divine emperor stared at Yimo and said word by word, "You ruined my business before and now you fell into my hands again. It seems you have quite some good things to be able to stay in Muhua God Mountain and break my space barrier. You not only have your own world, but also know a sliver of space law." Yimo glanced at the red axe and reached out his hand. Zissou suddenly appeared in his hand. Then he said slowly, "I guessed that there was something strange about this lake. Luckily I came today, otherwise, I'll know what time I would be locked up till. You probably cultivated in the mountain for many years. What a pity. The immortal emperor essence blood that you needed for cultivation was lost due to the Tao actualization divine emperor I brought over." Ha 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 ha. The divine emperor laughed. "You think it's good? You were able to reach immortal emperor peak stage from immortal emperor middle stage in a mere 100 years. It seems you have more secrets than me. So what if you're immortal emperor peak stage? You're still an insect to me, Taba Feiyong. Do you think you can escape? You want to escape from me using the little sliver of space law, you know. Keep dreaming. Even though I didn't get a single immortal emperor essence blood, you can make up for it." Suddenly, the red axe smashed down. A 30 kilometers long red axe figure sliced across the time whirlpool place outside the lake. The terrifying space pressure came. Yimo could feel he was in mud while fighting with Taba Feiyong. He didn't even move and the space was bound by the axe. He felt like he couldn't dodge this and could only wait as he was hacked apart. Yimo didn't dare to waste time. He released Zissou and 5 lightning spear destruction at the same time. He couldn't escape casually. He couldn't get into the golden page world in time with the space pressure. Even if he got into the Golden Page world, how far could he go into the time whirlpool outside? Plus, Taba Feiyang had been living here for countless years. If he knew how to travel outside, he would be over. Yemo stacked his Immortal Emperor domain and Spirit Sense domain. But even so, Zisu Crevice still slowed down a lot. The Divine Emperor only knew a sliver of time law, but it was much more than him. The 5 lightning spear destruction was very clear. It wasn't as fast as before. You still want to struggle under my space? Just wait to be disembodied by my blood-refining axe and taste my 6 glory soul-shaking light. Taba Feiyang sneered and shot out this pale light. As soon as this light came out, Yemo felt his soul and essence spirit wanting to leave his body. This was definitely an extremely fierce magic artifact. Yemo didn't think and punched out. Shatter space god art. He had to break the space binding. Otherwise, how could he fight this battle? Rumble. The punch swept over the nearby space lethal force and tore through the space. Taba Feiyang's space instantly made cracking sounds. 5 lightning spear destruction also sped up and clashed with the 6 glory soul shaking light. At the same time, the red axe also clashed with Zisu. Rumble. The rays splashed out. Yemo's 5 lightning spear destruction turned into flash lightning and disappeared. Meanwhile, an eerie light seeped out of the 5 lightning spear destruction and smashed on Yemo. Even with his immortal god body peak stage body, Yemo couldn't take it. But after the light went into Yemo's body, it was already weak and was easily burned by blue like morning sky. Crack. The purple sword ray of Zisu smashed together with the red axe shadow but created a materialized sound. Even though the space here was extremely stable, there were ripples. So powerful. Yemo was shocked and flew back. He forcefully controlled his body and didn't leave the safety range of the lake. No wonder you're so cocky. You have a few moves. Taba Feiyang didn't move, but he was more shocked than Yemo. He had seen quite some Immortal Emperor peak stage and even half-divines, but never an Immortal Emperor as powerful as Yemo. An ordinary Immortal Emperor peak stage would have long been killed, but Yemo was only at a slight lower hand. 6 glory soul-shaking light, soul-shaking extermination. The stronger Yemo was, the more Taba Feiyang wanted to kill him and take everything. Yemo knew this person was stronger than him. If he allowed the light to completely activate, it definitely wasn't good. It just shot out 1 light before and his 5 lightning spear destruction couldn't stop it. If it was completely activated, it would be overwhelming. He didn't have the right to stall out the battle with this divine emperor. He had to finish the battle quick, and if he was outmatched, run immediately. Yemo calmed his essence chi and took out a golden bone arrow, and at the same time, a big golden bow appeared in his hand. This terrifying heaven chi rustled, rolling in all the nearby space. The extreme lethal force of the golden bow of immortal extermination fused with the world and seemed to rip the space the next moment. Yemo's cultivation level was far stronger than Jizong Immortal Emperor, and he refined to a much higher level of restriction. Golden bow of divine extermination. Taba Feiyang called out in horror. His body was shaking with terror. He only activated half of the 6 glory light, but he didn't dare to keep activating anymore. He didn't dare to move at all. He knew that if he was shot by the golden bone arrow of divine extermination, he would definitely die. He was shaking, half out of fear but half out of excitement. The golden bow of divine extermination appeared. This meant that if he killed this small immortal emperor, it would be his. Once he found 9 bone arrows, he would dominate the entire God Necropolis domain. Even if he didn't find the 9 arrows and just found 5 arrows, he wouldn't fear ordinary Dao actualization divine emperor anymore. But now, the killing intent of the golden bow of divine extermination was getting more and more intense. He didn't dare to move at all. All the lethal force of the space was drawn to the arrow, even the bleak killing intent of the lake. It formed this materialized killing intent around the golden bone arrow. Taba Feiyang was scared, but he didn't think he would die to it. He believed that even if Yemo got all 9 arrows, he wouldn't be able to completely spirit control it. The original 9 arrows of the golden bow of immortal extermination were invisible in the God Necropolis domain, but many people knew that 4 of the arrows were lost. There were only 5 true arrows with the golden bow of immortal extermination. The owner of the Golden Bow of Divine Extermination found the top forgery Grand Master of the God Necropolis domain to make 4 more arrows. However, these 4 arrows were far weaker than the original 5. It was because of this that Taba Feiyang believed he could dodge Yi Mo's golden bone arrows. If he did, then Yi Mo was his to play with. So it was Golden Bow of Divine Extermination, Yi Mo realized. Perhaps when he reached 72th level or higher restriction, the name of the bow would change again. Seeing Taba Feiyang's nervous and worried look, Yi Mo was very satisfied. He was threatened by these bow and arrows before, but now he could use it to threaten others. It seemed this bow was extremely famous in the God Necropolis domain. If he killed this Taba Feiyang, no one would know he has the Golden Bow of Divine Extermination. Yi Mo's spirit sense was very powerful and Sea of Consciousness was very sturdy. Even so, it was very difficult for him to draw open the bow. He had to constantly insert his lethal force in. He couldn't let the lethal force fall or the opponent would grasp the opportunity. He had to preserve strength as he knew the first arrow definitely wouldn't be able to kill Taba Feiyang. Compared to Yi Mo, Taba Feiyang found this more unbearable. He didn't know when Yi Mo would shoot the arrow nor how many arrows Yi Mo had. As the lethal force grew bigger, Taba Feiyang felt greater pressure. He knew he couldn't move first. When the lethal force gathered to a peak, Yi Mo knew he couldn't keep holding it. Otherwise, the lethal force would drop. There was another thud from outside the lake. Yi Mo shot the arrow without hesitation at the same time. The crisp sound came like phoenix chirping as the arrow tore open all space in front of it. The arrow's lethal force left no return. As the bow sounded, the bone arrow shot out. In that instant, Taba Feiyang's 6 glory light was completely activated. A horrid light veil shot out. At the same time, Taba Feiyang released the blood axe. He deeply knew how powerful the Golden Bow of Divine Extermination was. With the power of this immortal emperor, there wouldn't be just only one arrow. The golden arrow shot into that veil and the veil melted extremely rapidly. Crack. The pale veil finally disappeared, but the killing intent of the bone arrow was completely wiped. Its force was still there, but it just didn't have the original lethal force. Taba Feiyang's face was calm. He quickly took back the 6 glory light. He knew Yi Mo didn't have just one arrow. How could Yi Mo let him take back the light? The sound of arrow release came again. 2 golden arrows shot in the left and right of Taba Feiyang. Their killing intent almost materialized. Even if Taba Feiyang wanted to dodge it, he couldn't. Taba Feiyang knew that the golden bone arrow couldn't be dodged easily. One arrow had possibility of being dodged, but if he tried to dodge 2 arrows, it was suicide. If he dodged 1 arrow, his force would weaken. The second arrow would lock on him and kill him. If the Golden Bow of Divine Extermination and arrow was so easily dodged, it wouldn't be feared so much. At the same time Yi Mo shot the second and third arrow, Taba Feiyang's blood axe was released and smashed at the golden bone arrow. Crack, the blood axe was completely broken by the bone arrow and turned to blood-colored pieces. However, with this the golden arrow paused a bit. Taba Feiyang couldn't block the third one. The terrifying killing intent completely enveloped him. A substitute wooden clone appeared next to his body suddenly and blocked the third arrow. This was his essence spirit substitution clone. It would use up a portion of his essence spirit, but it could save his life. The instant the essence spirit clone came out, it was completely smashed by the third arrow. The clone was instantly torn to pieces, but the third arrow was blocked by the essence spirit pieces and the killing intent eased. Before Taba Feiyang could be happy, he saw the fourth golden arrow shoot at him. Before the sound of the bow rung, that extremely terrifying killing intent swept over. The space around Changzheng Lake became dead. It seemed that almost all life force was taken away by this fourth bone arrow. That terrifying killing intent locked the entire space, leaving him nowhere to escape. The fourth arrow was the real lethal arrow. Taba Feiyang suddenly realized. Yi Mo knew the 3 arrows couldn't kill him, so he gathered all the lethal force on the fourth arrow. He was certain that Yi Mo only had 4 arrows. Even if he had a 5th, he wouldn't be able to shoot it. Yi Mo's extremely pale face showed that he had used all his power. If he survived this 4th arrow, Yi Mo would be defenseless.